before getting Me Too'd. And after. Hey, we love that umbrella guy. All right. Thank you.
You know what? I talk to your mayor.
Hey there to all you fine people. How is it going today? Man, there's been some fun. By the way, Sexy Hot Dogs says hello. Oh, it has been an interesting one. So we have definitive proof that a certain Aquaman starlet has been watching what we do out here. Now, we already know that because she's focused on some other stuff that we did. But the topic yesterday, apparently it made them mad enough that they had to undo everything we were talking about, which we'll get to in just a second. But I love it. I absolutely love the idea that they're sitting around like hanging on what we're talking about over here. Because that's, I don't know, that seems so... It seems so empty and so unfulfilling. And yet, that's getting ready for trial. Can you imagine that? You're getting ready for a trial that could potentially wreck everything because of yourself. And what do? You're so committed to vindictiveness and pettiness that you got to watch some random person on freaking YouTube. Oh, I love it. I do. So we'll talk about that in a second. Now, yesterday, like I said, we talked about Jason Momoa. We have new additions to that today, which I think is funny. We'll hit it in just a second. But I want to mention something first. Let me catch this super chat too. What's up, Mike? Thanks for the 5. Hey, Tug, did you last couple of invites I sent you last few days to mine, RG, or Critical Blast live streams? Yeah, I got them. Yesterday, or Friday, I can't remember what Friday was doing. I may have streamed through Friday. And today, we'll see how time goes. The kids just got home from, they were at their grandmama's house. We had a weird thing happen last night, by the way. 3 o'clock last night. So I'm by myself. I finished Flashcast. Wake up and door, or not rather wake up. I'm waking up, watching TV, just sitting around, and the doorbell rang like 6 or 7 times at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was like, "What in the world?" So I went, I checked out here too. I mean, we have more neighbors now than we used to, but still, it was really odd there. So we got up this morning, and we have a back porch with chairs and whatnot, and all of them had been taken off the porch. So somebody had come out, probably a bunch of teenagers or something, but still, I was like, "What the world, man?" That's a good way. That's a good way out here in the middle of the United States, southern U.S. to get shot. We bring up a couple of things, and then we will get started. Drink of caffeine, wake myself up too. Man, the last couple of days, one thing to remind you of too. Trial. Trial is coming 1 week. That's right, 1 week away. Like, really drink that in. I really want that to hit there. 1 week. That's all you got left. The 11th. It's going to hit, and it will be live on YouTube. We will be covering it. I know other people will cover it too, but you can come here, watch that. Again, the trial probably will not start until the 12th. They will do jury selection on the 11th, but the trial itself, it could potentially have some coverage on the 11th, but probably not. The court said that it looks like that we won't get anything until the 12th. So we'll see. I mean, if they get everything selected, now if they have a delay, there could actually be a delay longer than that, but probably not. With the court, typically wants to keep to its time schedule. So again, the 12th, it looks like will be the kickoff date. So mark that on your calendars. It's a big one there. I'm actually going to take days off and everything to make sure that, oh man, it's going to be a big one. It's going to be crazy to see this stuff play out. And unlike in the UK, where everything is going to be camouflaged, where you couldn't watch what played out, you couldn't see all of the oddity, you actually get to see what happens, She's going to be asked things like, "So do you have any proof of all your claims?" And her answer is going to be, "Mr. Deb, what do you think is going to happen with this outcome?" "Oh, you're going to get paid." That's right. Oh, it's going to be something to watch play out. It'll be interesting. So anyway, let's do a little discussion. We get that in there. Let's talk about our sponsor, which is me. I make a joke about that, but new people, when they pop in, they may not know what we're talking about. Again, let me also say this. Some people seem very confused about what these are when they run across them if I leave them up. This is a live stream. That means that we had a stream in front of thousands of people. If you turn the chat on, you can actually see the chat. Talking right now, you should say hi to the chat. Chat, why don't you say hi to the folks? There'll be a delay for a second, but you'll notice in about 8 to 15 seconds, they'll respond to you. And they'll say hi. Hey, Mike, thanks for additional 10. One of the stories I went over the past Friday was Action Comics Volume 1-8, in which we saw Siegel and Schuster and societal woes opposed to Tom Taylor's handling of societal woes. That'd probably be pretty interesting to see how they actually looked at societal problems in the past versus now. I'll go back and I'll tune into that. Link me that in an email. I want to go back and make sure I catch that. But yeah, okay. Comic book. My sponsor. Look where it's at. 1,028 backers. Wow. We're into 7 days and change out of 30 days. So that's a week. We have a week left on there. So if you've not checked out the comic, make sure that you check it out for sure. Share it around. Make sure everyone sees it. Look at that. We may break down the walls of 80K. And that's crazy, isn't it? Again, the fixed goal, it's an arbitrary number. It's just a number I put in. But I mean, we're at a good place there. When we hit 80, everybody will get another free thing with it. So again, so far, just say you ordered a comic for yourself, you get 3 cards, a postcard, and probably I'm going to add a sticker. So you'll get all of that. Just it wasn't there at the beginning. Now it is, because the more we raise, the more we add. So, just because you make it bigger does that. This is our third comic book. This is The Hunt for the Littlest Umbrella. It is 40 pages. Again, regular comic books are about 18 pages when you strip away all of the advertisements. So you're talking 40 pages, over double that. All ages, meaning for everyone, not just for kids, but for everyone. Adventure. The Littlest Umbrella is an archetype that my 8-year-old daughter would use. She would come online, she'd walk downstairs and talk to me sometimes when I'd be live, and she needed a way to not get doxxed. So that was her cover, so we turned it into if you read it, it is detective noir. Basically, you follow a detective, a little sidekick, or two little detectives as they try to figure out whatever's going on with paranormal adventures. We try to do like a cross between all ages and kind of a fun little horror story. So you have the littlest umbrella, or the umbrella girl, has vanished. Sightings of the strange creatures. Reports of missing hikers. As our detective, our daughter, gone feral. We have her artwork is on there too, along with some awesome artwork. And if you don't care about comics at all, you can donate to charity. You pick up a comic book for charity, we'll match that for charity. So they all go to that. So far, we have 172. Somebody backed 100 by themselves. So there's 172, and we match that. So we have 316 that are, wait, that wasn't right. 300, I was like, wait a minute, 36, that's not right. 344, 360, I don't know where I got that. My brain doesn't math well when I'm tired. But anyway, check that out, back it, help us get to, our next goal is 1,050. Like I said, we just keep going. It'll be cool to see exactly where we can get today. Like I said, if you want to be part of that, you want to support it, we definitely need it. And we need change. We keep complaining about these companies. I'm pulling up. I'm pulling up something that I want to show you here. So we talk about these companies all the time that we need change from, right? I mean, we discuss it all the time. They insult us. They degrade us. They back some of the most reprehensive things possible. Well, guess what? They'll keep doing it until. So yesterday we talked about a certain Aquaman starlet unfollowing and what that means. So here, let me pull this up. This is funny because this happened while we were discussing it. So you and I last night were talking about all of the proof that she has to be. You think about this. Okay, she has a movie that's coming out soon, right? With that movie coming out soon, she's got to be right in the middle of advertisement. Warner Brothers has got to, no matter what, unless they erase her from the movie, she needs to be on her best behavior, making sure that everything at least looks like everyone's getting along, right? I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, you're marketing a multi-billion-dollar franchise, so you should make it look like everybody's buddy. Well, what would it say to you if Amber Heard suddenly unfollowed Jason Momoa? What would that say to you? Because I know to me, what that says is that there is some kind of friction there for sure, and that she's probably part of it. What if she were to unfollow not just that, but what if she were to unfollow? What if she were to unfollow the Aquaman movie, Warner Brothers? What if she were to do that? What would that say to you? Wouldn't that say, hey, wait a minute, she's out? Yeah, I did get it, Mike. Thanks for the 5 there. Just emailed you the latest episode of the Mike Stand. Did you get it? I did. It just came through. Thank you for that, brother. I'll look at it when we get off here. And I'll see what time it is when I get off here, too. See what's going on with the kiddos. But if she unfollowed, wouldn't that say that there's issues? I mean, like I said, they're promoting. Let me pull this up here real quick. So they're promoting probably the biggest item that they have with Aquaman. This is, in fact, why I believe personally that I've talked about this before, but this is why I believe going forward that JD was ultimately fired. I think that, well, I'm going to be careful how I phrase this. I think there was some, let's just call them shenanigans behind the scenes. I think the director, first of all, is good friends with Rocket Man, and he's taken quite a few little pictures with the Rocket Man and that certain Aquaman starlet. He's also, talked about how they were friends. So I mean, that's going to work in, and there's got to be some flex power there. But ultimately, what I think happened is this: I think you had him convince, or actually, I've mentioned again. Speculation is part of this. Things that I've read, part of this, and also some sourcing. Putting that all together. And when I say sourcing, be very clear about that. I'm not talking about anyone in the lawsuit camp. Just want to make sure on this particular thing, I'm not saying that whatsoever. Just to make that very clear, because there's speculation about one of those people. When JD was accused in part 2. Fantastic Beasts Part 2, Crimes of, they didn't get rid of him. Well, we found out that somebody had spoken to J.K. Rowling. That was a statement that was put into the media. She knew the truth and everything. Well, somebody had to tell it to her. So in my mind, what that means is the one person that can explain this and do it very well, Adam Waldman. So in my mind, I envision Adam Waldman with JD maybe. I would think so. I would think that meeting would have to be probably both of them sitting down with J.K. Rowling and convincing her to keep him on. Because she was the power at that time. She was definitely the power. And she would have to convince Warner Brothers, or they would have to convince Warner Brothers. Well, Warner Brothers was convinced. Like I say, you could tell. They left that franchise in his hands. And they went out. Now, the problem with that franchise is that franchise, it's losing money. It always the second movie. I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan in the fact that I've liked the movies. They were good. I enjoyed them, but I'm not somebody that it's like, oh my God, I need the Fantastic Beasts movies. So when I watched the second one, I was curious about JD. I wouldn't have watched it otherwise. But the movie itself, it wasn't that good, but it relied on star power. So when you look at the two apart, the first one, well, actually, let me just share the whole thing. Let me share an entire screen. Okay, so with the first one, again, the earnings have gone down substantially between movies, and this new one is going to have some real problems. It's going to be all of the problems with it. The first one, again, $811 million. Second one, $651 million. Well, in the third one, they know the beer bug has happened. They know all of these other things. I don't think personally he was fired because of this movie. I think he was fired because of the potential damage for standing up for his name with Aquaman. Do I think that's fair? No. I think that's messed up. I think when Hollywood is telling you that you can't clear your name, I think that's jacked up. But the reality is the superhero movies are what they want to bank on. They've always wanted to bank on that. Oh yeah, I forgot to blow up the thing. There you go. Sorry about that. I remembered that actually after a minute. I didn't even look over at the chat if somebody mentioned it. Was he in the first one? No, he wasn't Rip Hamster. No. He took over the Grindelwald. So yeah, and a lot of people just tuned in to see what was going on with that. But still, I mean, from the first to second one. I mean, like I said, you can see the fall off, and it's also in estimated domestic video sales. And again, you notice they're not keeping streaming numbers there, but there is a fall off. Now, I wonder, with the beer bug and streaming sales, I wonder how much money that brought in, because I'm sure that there was a lot of it. And I do wonder, too, when 2020 hit and you had the announcement that JD had been let go, I wonder how much of a boost in revenue happened because I know after that happened, I went back and I watched Crimes of Grindelwald because I was curious about it. I was like, he was let go from this movie. Let me watch his impact. I'm not going to watch that movie. I'm going to watch his impact on it. But again, I think they've written off Fantastic Beasts. I think they know it's going to fail. I think before they were scared of it. This is what I've heard from sources and what I see from their behavior. Sources are saying that they're panicked behind the scenes about this stuff. You could see that too. I mean, that's been the ramification. But anyway, so Aquaman, we'll talk about the Fantastic Beasts in just a second. But the Aquaman thing, that's where your bread and butter is. So to have strife showing, that's a big problem. But that's exactly what Heard allowed to happen. She allowed not only strife to showcase, but people like myself to see it. So the other day I saw a lot of people talking about how Amber Heard had unfollowed Jason Momoa and she had unfollowed the Aquaman movie. Again, that tells you right there, she's vindictive. She's a vindictive person. You see that through a lot of her behaviors. You can see that through her lawsuit behaviors. You can see that just through her typical everyday behaviors. She is a vindictive person. So her unfollowing, again, we'll talk about that, like the why, I think, in just a second. But while we were live streaming, and I was discussing this last night, guess what happened? She refollowed while we were watching it, telling you. And we know already that these people watch the show. So, everybody out there, say hi, by the way. Hi. Yeah. Say hi, Amber. It's just funny. Probably, hi, Eve Barlow. That's funny. Maybe I should sing them a song, Here, let me turn on my perfect voice. Let me make sure I get into the perfect song for that, okay? Here we go. I hope you lose your lawsuit. Does it feel bad lying about cancer children? You awful, repugnant piece of... Oh, wait, I can't sing that. Seriously, if you see that, it's really bad that you didn't give those children with cancer $3.5 million. That's terrible. It's very terrible. Don't worry. If anybody would like to pick up a charity tier for comic books, put in the comment section that they would like to donate it in the name of Eve or a certain Aquaman starlet. We would be happy to do that as well. So at least we can give charity to kids. That's what I loved about the NFT project, by the way. That certain Aquaman starlet. Again, if you don't know this, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but if you don't know this, when they divorced, she made a lot of noise about how she was going to donate $7 million to charity. That was their entire divorce settlement. And she was going to give $3.5 million to one of her co-conspirator organizations, the ACLU. She was going to give $3.5 million to the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. Guess what? No money. In fact, I am of the opinion that $3.5 million was given to her tax-free because she threw a fit about it. She ended up with tax-free money, and she decided to keep it. Now, she says, even though if you go back and you look at every interview she did, she talks about how she is going to give away that $7 million to charity. She's already done it. Donated. She's now playing the no pledged game. I didn't donate it. I pledged it. I planned on it. But all of this lawsuit stuff, he's so litigious. He's causing me problems. The only problem with that, of course, is the idea that there were 2 years between lawsuits. So in 2 years, she didn't donate a dime. Anonymous sources donated a couple of entries there. But Didn't. And I think that's why the real Laura B here is targeted. Personally, I've been thinking about it. I don't think it's about just documents and stuff that she does. I think that she made it on the radar because she's the person that truly uncovered all of the proof, like on her own before anything broke about it. She laid down the groundwork to show you that she was not a donor for that. Because as she explained, the way the award system goes, if you donate X amount of money, I believe it's over $1 million, you become a lifetime donor, a backer. So they always honor you. Well, they brought her up as part of that one time, but then they removed her, meaning that she didn't follow through. So Laura B is the one that broke all of that. I mean, she tore that down. She proved it beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's what I covered off of. When I first started covering, she made such an effective case that she provided enough proof without any statement from the CHLA or the ACLU that you knew the money had not been turned over. You could tell. I mean, you could absolutely tell that it didn't happen. And then, lo and behold, it wasn't. That's why, like I said, I think real Laura B, I think she has a crosshair on her by a certain Aquaman starlet. But as she's pointing out here, you'll notice in the follows, I saw several posts today that a certain Aquaman starlet unfollowed Jason Momoa and Aquaman movie on Instagram, which is very true. I went and checked it myself. I looked it up myself because, again, people started talking about it coming up, and like I said, it looked interesting and it looked odd. Now, some people were like, maybe she did it because she wanted the attention, like a gotcha. No, no. You want to throw Jason Momoa in as a gotcha? If they're that desperate for a gotcha that they're still going to burn bridges, no, they're reeling right now. They are reeling from the damage. It's self-wrought damage, by the way. And all of the signs, all of them are there that, again, they've lost their movie. I firmly believe that they have lost Aquaman. I firmly believe it. And the reason for the loss of Aquaman, again, it's because of her. She was given the good grace of a company that shouldn't have done it, by the way. Warner Brothers, when these movies fail, don't let anyone tell you that it's anyone's fault outside. Warner Brothers ultimately is the place that caused it. And don't forget, that's the other part of it too. A lot of people, they forget. They let it fall to the sideline. They forget that, the company, they're not going to make, first of all, they're not going to make good with you. So who cares? They're never going to apologize for what they did to you because they're never going to admit wrongdoing. But they came out and they called you bots. They said you weren't, when you had problems with stuff, they told you that they don't trust you. They don't care about you. They don't see you as any type of customer. Pat Maloney, thanks for the find there. Dealing with narcissists is exhausting. For JD, I feel bad for JD. I feel bad for him in this. But I tell you, the coverage on that, it's amazing. It is amazing to know that I can pick up a microphone and do what the mainstream cannot or will not do. And that these people, they pay attention. There are other names too, allies with JD that I know 100% have been listening and watching. And I don't mean that in any ego way or anything. I'm just saying they see what's going on. And you know why it's so noticeable in cases like this? It's not necessarily that you pick it up and a lot of people tune in. It's because the mainstream has decided that they won't do their part. Never forget that either. If you need any type of proof that you need alternate industry, that you need something else This case proves it. And all these other allegation cases, they prove it too. But this case is crazy because you have so many people that are in positions of prominence that paid their way out of coverage. They donate their way out of coverage. That's why I get on rants about sponsorships. That's why I do my own sponsor thing, because ultimately, if you're not careful when you get on that road, sponsors, they become cancer. I've seen a lot of movie review places that are online, like on YouTube, that give positive reviews for every single thing they do. And they used to not do that, but now they do it for everything, even the worst movies that you've ever seen, because that they get free tickets, they get comps, they get sponsorship dollars. That stuff, it eats away. But I think this is speculatory. But you'll see, like I said, you see the refollow. What I'm thinking happened is one of two things. I'm thinking, first of all, we're seeing the ramification of Warner Brothers making this statement. I'm going to cover this just because there's more. Here's the thing, too. If I repeat something, the reason that I'm repeating this is because there are new people tuning into this every day, and I want them to understand where you are here. If you want to start from go, there is an excellent podcast series that covers this. The Real Laura B and Jax, they have movies, myths, and monsters. Download it because they can track how many people pick it up. They've already had 60,000 plus downloads. And I will shout that from the heavens every day because that is the best way to catch up on this stuff. But this case is insane. In this case, you have somebody that put a cigarette out on someone's face. I mean, I don't. Taking their finger, you've heard about. The mainstream media doesn't even cover the cigarette thing. I mean, to me, that's when you put those two together. They claim, oh well, he got angry and smashed a phone and it chopped his finger off, which is absurd. The guy who was cleaning the place up, this guy, what was his name, Ben King? He said, yeah, I found the finger laying amidst glass on blah blah blah. So he backs up the story. He was the guy that did cleanup for JD. He backs up the story of where they found the finger. And the way it was severed by glass, like a bottle. She threw a bottle, it caught right, and it took his finger off when it was breaking. If you think about momentum, I mean, it would be very easy to do, honestly, with glass. I don't know if you've ever looked at something, making contact like that, but it would be very easy to do. But in the aftermath, she's like, oh, no. He did that to himself. Well, apparently, yeah, he put a cigarette on his face, too. I mean, that's just insane. If you look at pictures that have been, more people are starting to look at pictures from the past, too. And one thing you'll notice is that she seems, again, you take this how you will, but she seems to have marks on her fists, her knuckles, in a lot of pictures. If JD would have been working her over like she claims, he would have marks on his hands and fists all the time. Like another thing that makes it very, I almost use the word problematic. I don't like that word. People have turned that word into something I don't like now. But something that does make this an issue when you look at the evidence is the man has had a cast on before, so he's supposed to be able to do all this stuff with a cast on his arm. I've had a cast on my arm twice. It doesn't work that way. You can hit somebody with your cast, but yeah, you're not going to do all this crazy stuff, with your cast. It doesn't work that way. But what I think happened is I think that Warner Brothers has finally said, okay, you've done enough damage. And I think that somebody had made that clear the other day. That's why she unfollowed Aquaman and she unfollowed Jason Momoa. I think there's probably something attached to Jason Momoa, which I'll show you in a second. I've talked about that, but I want it all together here. But just for the sake of what happened with Warner Brothers, if you don't know this, Warner Brothers provided a statement. They didn't want to go to court. They were dead set against court. And the reason for that is because it's brand damaging. They didn't want Aquaman brought up in court. They didn't want their name brought up in court. From what I understand, they made it very clear to a certain Aquaman starlet that they didn't want that. Promises were made, which makes sense, right? You wouldn't, when you're bringing someone in and they have a high profile lawsuit and you're attached to one of their biggest commodities, they're going to tell you, don't be bringing our movie into this, right? She even wanted to file a paper that said, and JD agreed to this early on, that they wouldn't bring up Aquaman into this. You know, he like I said, he agreed to that early on. Yeah, I won't bring it up. But the problem that he ran into down the road is that he needed to bring it up. Like, he had to bring it up, because how do you discuss what she's done without being able to mention that? So she actually fails on that part. She also fails in the way, Warner Brothers too, again, I don't want to give them any love for this because they lied. They lied publicly. They allowed the lies to continue. But they finally clear up because they don't want to go to court so badly. They clarify their standings. They say, you know, hey, she was hired for both movies. We paid her per her contract. She didn't suffer any adverse employment actions by Warner Brothers in connection with either movie because of allegedly defamatory statements by JD or Adam Waldman that she alleged in her counterclaim. Her compensation was not reduced. By the way, they'll make it clear that the compensation also would have never been taken up. They would have never paid her more either, just to make that very clear. But they say any alleged delays. I love the wording here because they tell you there were delays, but they put in alleged, even though this is so dumb. Let me read this to you. I love this wording. I do. Every time I see this, it makes me laugh. So listen to this. Any alleged delay in picking up her option for Aquaman 2 was due to creative issues in casting her for the role of Mira in Aquaman 2, which was communicated to her agent at the time. Alleged, oh, by the way, we told her agent, so it happened. They didn't pick her up until 2 weeks before the option was due. So they ran it right down to the wire. We know that for a fact. They didn't want her in this movie. And they tell you, of course, it had nothing to do with JD, and we wouldn't have paid her a dime more. So you have them disclose this because they're so frustrated by the idea of having to go to court. They throw her under the bus. Hey, 2012, thanks for the 2. Discovery not funding another Aquaman. I think they'll fund another Aquaman, but I think they'll fund another Aqua Woman. If you know what I'm saying. You know, I think Aquaman. Again, you've got to remember the landscape of movies has changed over the last few years. Anyway, like, it's harder to make your $1 billion. Can you make $1 billion? Yes, but it's not like it was. It's not anything like it was. And they know it. I mean, they know that the landscape has changed, and it has changed for the worse for companies. Discovery merged with Warner Brothers. When Discovery merged with Warner Brothers, they figured it would take care of a lot of problems, desperate problems that they have. But the reality in that merger, and a reality you don't see discussed very often, is the fact that they brought in 58, I mean, drink this number in, $58 billion in debt. $58 billion in debt. So, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, that's an ocean of debt to bring to the table. And that's what they brought to the table with that. So, of course, they need to make money. Streaming has slowed down substantially. During the beer bug, it was the golden age of streaming. Everybody was tied in. Everybody was home. Everybody was spending money. That's dried up, though. North America, Europe, the subscriber numbers are dead. If you look at Netflix, for example, Netflix posted millions of people for subscriber growth. But the problem was that a lot of that subscriber growth came from Squid Game. When you see the millions of people and you notice only 70,000 of those are coming from North America. That's a problem. Like that is a huge problem, and every place is experiencing that. That's why they're raising their prices in North America because they're trying to milk that last dollar out of you before you walk away because they know it's lost to them. So they're trying to figure it out. They have a guaranteed moneymaker in Aquaman. It should be making money. Then they get drug into court. Now, Fantastic Beasts, too, like I was saying, Fantastic Beasts is something they don't want to write off, but it's not the main player in this. But still, if you look at the last few months, what you'll notice is they've moved the movie around. They moved it around like a hot potato. It starts out that they're going to have it where it's going to have impact from the trial. They know that the trial is going to be a bad thing for them. They don't want it brought up. So they decide, they make a move that, now this is before Warner Brothers is forced into the court because of her. Again, this all ties to the unfollowing and everything, but right before that, they think, okay, we can drop the movie. When is the best time to drop the movie and not have it damaged? Again, Fantastic Beasts, it's during the trial. They decide they're going to drop it on the 15th. Trial starts on the 11th. So they're going to drop it right after it starts, which actually does make sense. And the reason they do it, sources confirm this, is, give me a second. They do it because they figure negative headlines, there are going to be so many headlines that pop up about Depp during the trial that they could have hidden their release in that. You're going to have so many search terms on Depp in the trial, they wouldn't have to worry about it. The problem that they experience, though, is that they're called into court. The judge says, you're going to have to testify. You've got to go into court. And that was something that they did not think they were going to have to do. In fact, they threatened Depp. Like, they wanted out of it so bad. You think about this, too. If you really want to know if they're going to do something or not, think about it this way. They were willing to threaten Depp, saying, we'll say terrible things about you. And they don't deny that, by the way. They say, no. He's not explaining it how it should be explained. So they're telling you, we're not denying that we said we're going to say terrible things, but really that's just going to come up in the scope of our coverage. So they're telling you again, they plan on trying to make him look bad too. But now they're listed, so they move Fantastic Beasts from the 15th to the 6th, trying to capitalize on the week before the trial, and Ezra Miller pops off. Now, who do you think gets blamed for all of that? Do you think the executives blame themselves? No, of course not. They don't. There is no world in which an executive is going to lose their job over this. Here, let me pull something up here. I'm pulling up different things while we're talking. So there's no world in which an executive is going to lose their job over this. Somebody else is going to pay. And yeah, would Ezra Miller pay? Probably. Ezra Miller's probably going to pay a price for this. From what I hear, they had emergency meetings to talk about Ezra Miller. And that, again, if you're like, oh, well, sources, we don't know what's going on. Well, just think about that logically. The guy is arrested and has all of these things happen right before Fantastic Beasts drops. You have the media connecting his behavior with the release party, your first viewings of the movie, while you're also having box office expectations low. Warner Brothers already thinks the movie's going to tank. They haven't scripted a fourth one. They're already ready for it to tank. And again, when they look at their options and getting burned, they could have moved it. They could have delayed it. But they delayed all these other movies too. Like they moved Aquaman, they moved Willy Wonka. They have to have these things released soon or later. If they don't, like again, they're locked into the release date of Fantastic Beasts. And the reason they're locked in, Amber Heard. They're absolutely 100% locked in because of Amber Heard. Again, they were trying to get away from the trial and they stumbled right into the Ezra Miller trap. So when you look at the witnesses that are going to be popping up for court declarations and on, when you see all of these different designees, she burned up. By the way, she's already burned I've talked about this before, but she already burned Disney. Disney, you know Disney will never have her back. That's what kills me about these places that make up fake stories about how she's going to be a Disney princess or in a Marvel movie. That ain't happening. If a place is coming out and saying that, now if I find out that that happens, if I heard it from sourcing, I would make sure and I would cover it via sourcing. But I don't see that happening. I could be stunned, I guess, in Hollywood, but I'll tell you, a lot of the places that discuss things like that, they have no idea. They lie to you. Because her reality is, give me a second, the reality with Disney, again, who has already been burned, they made it clear, I won't spend a lot of time on it, but already, like you think, you burned the two biggest companies out there. This is why she's unfollowing. Again, if you want to understand the frustration, like she's not good at hiding her motivations. So when she unfollows, again, Jason Momoa is one thing. The Aquaman movie itself, when she unfollows the movie itself. Now, I'm sure if it gets loud enough, you mark my words, if it gets loud enough, she'll do damage control. Her simps will come out and they'll talk about how we're liars. Yeah, everybody, people have shown plenty of screenshots about unfollowing, not following anymore, and they'll either use the "I was hacked." They'll try to blame it somehow. They'll redirect and try to blame it on JD or supporters of JD, and that'll be damage control. When you see people like Eve Barlow, as they'll inevitably come out and try to damage control this, they'll lie. They'll lie in some way. They'll try to redirect it. You watch. There will be somebody that tries to redirect it. And if there's enough noise, even Warner Brothers beforehand, I wonder if the noise could get loud enough, if they would put out a denial that they fired. Because again, it's not in their best interest to let that be. When they fire too, let's be clear about that. The way that these companies fire, they will contact people and let them know. But oftentimes, they'll let them know that they're just not going to renew their contract. So the wording there, did they fire you? No. They let me know they're not going to renew my contract. Well, that's firing you, but still. We know they'll fire somebody because they did it to JD. They did it unceremoniously. But after the movie's made, they just don't have to pick up the contract. So again, I wouldn't be surprised to see damage control from this stuff as we go forward, because places like Warner, people like Heard, these folks, they desperately need some type of win that. But I said Disney, they can deny it all they want. But Disney, they threatened to sue Disney. They threatened them for sanctions. Oh, you don't give us what we want? We're going to sue you. We want you to pay money. So they went from cooperative to threatening Disney. Disney's not going to bring you back for that. We also, as I've covered evidence, and we'll cover a little bit more of the evidence today, but as I've covered evidence, I've told you from go, there's a strategy she's going to implement. Her strategy is deny, 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 and it's going to be whataboutism. She's going to use, well, what about him? What about him? Her deny, deny, deny is, I didn't do the damages. He did the damages to himself. And Disney admitted that, Her strategy was to show that Disney did not have documents showing a linkage between her public statements and her career, so to minimize her damages. So you see, again, those statements. And then they complained about bait and switch. They said, well, you know what? She pulled us into this. She did all of these things, and then she pulled a bait and a switch. She basically got rid of her old lawyers. She brought in new lawyers, and they threatened us with sanctions. And again, they lost. So she burned that bridge. So they lost there again. So you see Warner's fallen. They already lost Disney. So after that's fallen, how do you think she's going to react to that news? Do you think she's going to react to it with dignity and grace? Hell no. She's gonna react to it angrily. And again, the unfollow was angry. Now, what's funny is I want to give somebody credit too. Like I said, with this, and I said this live yesterday. When we started talking about it, I bet money that she ends up refollowing things. So, and look again, if you look at the follows, her name, she's still not following the movie anymore yet. Like I said, she went from following to unfollowing items. She still hadn't picked up the slack on that, but I'm sure, like I say, that says something. When your biggest commodity out there, you unfollow the page for it. You're like, I'm not doing that anymore. This is something that has paid you quite a bit of money. The first movie paid you installments of bonuses, which your own evidence show. So I said, I said that live, and we had Bling Pipe here. Note, I was in the chat yesterday. It was happening in real time. I told you she did this while we were talking about it. You just didn't see it. Oh my goodness. It's funny. Yeah. They sent her home earlier than the rest. She was fired. I wonder if they're taking her out completely. I feel I don't know if they'll take her out of the movie, like because of cost. I think that ultimately depends on the outcome of the case. I think if she loses this case, they're going to have some hard choices to make. Now, you've seen companies, like think about this though. Here's the interesting thing too. You look at all the companies that have erased other people because they've been blamed for something. Look at oh god, I can't even think of his name. Kevin Spacey. Look at Kevin Spacey, for example. Kevin Spacey, man, once he was an alleged anything, again, you can have your own opinions on what's there. I personally believe the director that he's worked with, Bryan Singer, I believe he's 100% guilty, 150% guilty. But due process, they're still allowed it. But without that, Hollywood has been like, we're going to erase this dude, right? They've done everything to get rid of him. And other people, they've just flat out erased them from movies. So will Hollywood do it? Yeah. They will unceremoniously dump someone. They will put them in the corner like a pariah. You know what the difference is, though? The difference is identity and gender. Like if you look at Kevin Spacey knew that if he could get some kind of defense built in with identity, that he felt that he could get away with what was going on. He could get around it. Like he came out and he said, "Hey, by the way, I'm gay." He thought that would save him. It didn't, but he thought that would because of identity. And the same thing with her. We've seen this happen to multiple men. We've never seen a woman erased like that. We've seen women erased for other things. But we have never seen a woman erased for something like this. We may, though. Like if you think about how the societal tide is changing, that says plenty about it, doesn't it? I still think it's fascinating. She still has not followed the Aquaman movie back as of this. I haven't checked this morning. I didn't care about it. Or this afternoon, I care. I wanted to cover it from. You have your screenshot there. Again, she is paying attention to what we're discussing here. And I know that, like I said, I know that because she listed my Twitter in the case. She redacted a document, but she made the argument that listed my Twitter as part of it in a redacted statement. Eve Barlow filled that in. So I know that she was paying attention, that they watch my Twitter account. Eve Barlow stalks my account and tries to get it banned all the time anyway. These people have tried to get me banned multiple times off of every platform. Like, that's crazy, too. You have Hollywood celebrities because I'm covering stuff that, and again, there are other people, too. I'm not trying to say, oh, look at this. I do want you to sub and back things that we do, but just to point out the difference there. The mainstream, they own them. but just random people. They figured that we were ignorable. We were inconsequential. They didn't have to worry about it. And, they talk about, they're so mad in court documents. They say Adam Waldman and, JD, these people, they're making contacts with the media and social media accounts. They're making contacts with these people. They threw in Laura B. They threw in that Brian fellow, and they threw in myself. And the reason that they do that is because anybody, as I said before, I will never confirm or deny a source, but I'll say they've never contacted me. Nobody from that camp contacted me, from that certain Aquaman starlet's camp, to provide any kind of refuting evidence of anything that I backed. And everyone can contact. I have a publicly available email. Everyone can contact me, as I said. But the problem with them, and they've proven this through the media, is even though everyone can contact, no one can own your voice. No one, again, if you stay sponsor free, you're beholden to no one. And also, I would say this, if somebody attempted to buy my voice, I would note that. That'd make a great headline, Certain Aquaman starlet pays, attempts to pay, and I'm sure they'd be afraid of that. But they could have offered evidence, incontrovertible evidence, something that truly shows that everything that I'm covering is an absolute mess. They would also have to answer questions. I would want them to answer the questions about how why wasn't metadata covered? I'd like that there. And again, they'll talk to media. They'll talk to mainstream media because they know that they'll be friendly to them, because they can throw out the right buzzwords. I will not be impacted by listen and believe. I will not. I'll be impacted by truth, not the stigma of listen and believe. And again, these people, they can say all the advocacy they want. Advocacy isn't donning a fake title, not giving any money to charity, and then pretending that just because you get up and you pick up a microphone that somehow in some way you've helped out children and victims of domestic violence. True advocacy is going out and getting something the fuck done. A lot of us do that in our real lives. We just do this as a hobby, or we do this as part of this. Again, I don't think what they do is advocacy. There are advocates out there that can do it by picking up a microphone. They didn't. Them getting a title from see, it disgusts me. I would be disgusted if some company came out and said, oh, you know what? That umbrella guy is an ambassador. An ambassador for. Fuck all that. That would disgust me. But they thought that was good marketing. I mean, that's just, oh man, some of this stuff. Now, the Jason Momoa thing, like I said, I think there's more to that. I think it goes into evidence because, again, if you look through the evidence, Jason Momoa is brought up specifically. I wonder, too, like, the tie to her, she is poison to be around. Like, can you imagine if you texted somebody and you told them anything whatsoever? Can you imagine them bringing you into this circus? Because there are people that just got brought into it. Zack Snyder is brought into this circus. Zack Snyder. I've seen some of his commentary before. I thought it was absolutely repugnant the way that he handled himself with Geeks and Gamers. I thought that was a mess. Because Geeks and Gamers was running charity there, and he tried to make a statement to distance. But the reason he did it was because he's afraid of controversy. I can understand that from a Hollywood level. I'm not excusing that at all. I like the Geeks and Gamers guys. I like them quite a bit. But the reason that they did that was to escape controversy. Well, what do you think's bigger? Appearing on a YouTube channel for charity? Talking about something? That tells you also that Hollywood pays attention too, because you have to denounce those mean old YouTubers. Or do you think like I said, what's bigger? Do you think appearing on a YouTube channel or appearing in a court document where you have some type of private statement. And this was picked up by the media. This was big enough as far as name recognition. When you have James Wan, when you have Jason Momoa, when you have Zack Schneider brought into a case with their names dropped in documents, and this is the power of that. They knew what the power of that would be. They could have redacted those names too. They could have easily gone in and redacted those names, but they didn't. They know that, well, either they know full well what they were doing, or on the other side, they didn't care what they did at all. Either way, that's damage. Either way, that's ugliness. And it says plenty. It says plenty. But, I mean, imagine, again, James Wan. Like, I like some James Wan product. Saw? I mean, I love horror. I've never been a big fan of Aquaman. I like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I think that's a good hire. But I'm turned off by... I never thought I'd say this in my life. This tells you what these places have done to superheroes. I never thought I would say I'm sick of their movies, but I'm sick of their movies. There are certain ones I would sit down and watch. Like, I'll give a Batman movie a watch. I'll watch it my way, you understand? But money-wise, that's a different story. But, yeah, I would not want to watch any of their products. And you know what? I'll never give them my money again, though. That's the point in that, too. I feel I need to make that very clear. I don't plan on giving them any money, ever. I don't plan on giving companies money for insulting and degrading us. All of us. I don't think you should either, personally, but, it's your money. I can never tell you what to do with it. I just... Well, Warner Brothers sat on this information. Can you imagine that? They fire a guy, and then through the lie of omission, omission is a lie too. They will clarify that. Now, if they're a company that never went out publicly and clarified things, I could understand why they wouldn't go forward and say anything. But they're not a company like that. They are a company that will clarify things, and they've done it multiple times. They just decided it was better for them in this case to keep their mouth shut. But there's evidence, again, if you want to see incontrovertible proof that, she messed up in big time. Give me a second. I'm pulling this up here. So she has her counterclaim and her new argument against summary judgment. That would be essentially counterclaim prime, right? That's where she throws myself, Laura B., and other people under the bus. Hey, I see some members come in. I think I saw a super chat. Let me hit that too. I try to hit the super chats right off, so they go in there. Hey, Susan, thanks for the 5 there. Caught you on Yellow Flash last night. Donated comics, hoping you get over $9.99. I did it along with others. Yes, can't wait for my books to arrive. It'll be good. We're in the process. We're creating. Like I said, we're getting all of our stuff. It'll be good. I think you'll all enjoy what we're creating here. I'll put up the new pages as they come out, and it'll be good. It'll be good. I think like I said, I appreciate, as we move forward with that thing, the more we move forward, the more message we send with stuff. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But thank you. Thank you, Susan Dolan. I saw you on there too, I was like, yeah, I know Susan Dolan. She's a backer of a lot of folks. So hope you caught that there. Is that L-E-M-N-O-P? I like that name. That's cool. L-E-M-N-O-P. Welcome. Thank you for the membership. And welcome to Tux Thugs. I like your screen name. L-E-M-N-O-P. Yeah, I like that. I love gimmicks to that. Like I said, I like that. I like how it flows. That's a creative name. I like it. Uncle Brad. What's up, Uncle Brad? Welcome. Thank you for the membership, too. And welcome to Tux Thugs. Thank you for that, too. X, what's up? Thanks for the 5. AH, coming after your channel, social media and lawsuit is the Hollywood equivalent of, you know what? I talked to your mayor. You gotta love that, right? You gotta love that people have talked to my mayor, right? That's real. I don't. A lot of people don't realize that that's real. This is a real dude talking about me.
You know
Saying,
what? I talk to your mayor.
you know what? I talked to your mayor. Oh, I love it. But anyway, oh God, some people are such freaks online. That is so weird. I talked to your mayor. I told you know what happened? F all happened. What's my mayor gonna do to me? Oh no, I told him about your mean old YouTube channels. Who's such a meanie? Oh God. I was like, are you kidding me? I did, just to say, the mayor did talk to them for a little bit, and I was pissed about that because it's not that they call because they're crazy. They do all kinds of. It's that they would humor them by even discussing it. We're taxpayers in this region, and these people are contacting law enforcement and stuff, which is trying to send law enforcement to your door. Yeah, I ripped into that guy. I did. I was mad. I called him. I was like, you know what? If police come to our door, we get swatted. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring your name up. I'm going to say your name live. I'm going to be like, you let this happen because you knew what was going on. You didn't do anything. What a nuts, though. Anyway, so we have, though, if you want the biggest proof that Warner Brothers has gotten onto her, ripped into her, and you want to see what she's doing, her desperation. If you really want to feel the desperation, all you got to do is look at the counterclaim that she has, which she only has little bitty fragments left of. She's had to change narratives on and everything else. But when you look at the discussion about it, she's much more reluctant to say a line like this. As early as 2016, JD admitted his intention to destroying her career, stating, for example, he wanted her replaced on that Warner Brothers film, referencing the blockbuster hit Aquaman. Now, they dropped this narrative, by the way. Like when they've come after three of us, like since there's more people listening, I want to note this. They planned, if you want a reason not to back something, here's you a perfect reason. She went to Twitter. She demanded the identities of 200 people, which she listed in a subpoena. She lists some of them. She listed specific people at first, two main ones that she wanted taken out because they have the audacity to say things like, I love you, Waldman. But she names all these other accounts that she wants to go after. Some of these accounts that she named, I know for a fact, and she has to know for a fact, were not bot accounts. She called them Russian bots. But she hired a company, Bot Sentinel, to track the behavior of tens of thousands of users online. And when I say track the behavior, what I mean is you mentioned her in a way that they considered negative. So I don't know if I believe Amber Heard. Maybe that's enough. Who knows? Who knows what they put in there? But they tracked people who made a statement, anyone who liked the statement, anyone who commented on a statement. So you so much as liked the statement during that time, you got tracked. They were after you. That should piss you off. Because what they wanted was they wanted in subpoena, they wanted for 200 users. And again, they wouldn't have stayed with 200 users. They would have gone after everybody. Once they unmasked 200, they would have just kept going. And for once, Twitter actually stood up for something. I was shocked. But they wanted the address or the IP address for the creation of the account. So they wanted where you created it. They wanted essentially your home address. They wanted any place that you logged on from. So they wanted your workplace, or say you went to your families for Thanksgiving. They wanted that. They wanted all of that information. So they wanted to burn your life down. Remember too, Heard's team, Those people out there, they quote unquote forgot to redact addresses of 83 individuals. They doxed 83. If I doxed 83 individuals, holy crap. Everybody, you know, I definitely wouldn't have a channel standing. But they doxed 83 people in documents. Like I take out you'll notice I take out addresses and everything else with, when I cover documents in a video. They dump their home addresses, contact information, everything on the other side of that. 83 people, you know. I mean, that says something. It says a lot. It says what they would have done to you. They changed that, though. Like I said, you want proof that Warner Brothers has gotten on to them and has told them, yo, you need to keep our names out of your mouth. Well, look no further than their filing. Again, this was granted, by the way. The judge didn't grant summary judgment. Like they acted like this was the biggest win in the world. If you win summary, everybody asks for a case to be dismissed. I mean, if you have ever watched anything, like any show, like Law and Order or anything, what do? They ask for a case dismissal, right? I mean, that's standard form. You always ask for case dismissals. Well, they didn't get it. It's a long shot. They had a good argument for it, but it was allowed. But their argument to keep it going, what's messed up in my mind is that they changed their entire argument. And one of the things they had to do is they had to minimize the comments about the movie. They even say the way that they bring up, whoops, that's the opposition to squash, my bad. Let me pull the other one. I pulled the wrong one there. That's my bad. I was like, wait a minute. That says opposition to quash. That's not it. Here we go. I brought the wrong document over. God, I got like 9 or 10 documents opened up here, and they all look the same. So, yeah. So until I get into them, man, there's so many documents. I have been filing, going through all the stuff, and there are people like, again, Laura B is much better at the informational exchange or remembering. Like, me, I can't remember. There's so much in this case that, she's got a steel trap mind for that. Me, some of this stuff blurs together, but I was going through documents the other day, putting them in order, and it was insane. I mean, it was absolutely insane trying to make sense of all the filings that were there. And we still have new filings that we haven't even touched yet. We'll catch up everything in the next week, and then the week after that, boom, the trial hits. So we have time, but it's insane. I have to give props, like I say to Laura. Ooh, man, I cannot pronounce your name. Let me try this. I can't pronounce your name. I'm sorry. Stoney. Stoney. Like I said, I will butcher your name, so I apologize for that. Tell me how to pronounce that. Like, can somebody give me an idea? I always find names interesting, and not being able to pronounce something like from the South, it's like my my mind doesn't even want to comprehend like words that have names. It's terrible. Like just so I want to get it right. But anyway, Turds Film, and soon the darkness is free to view. Couldn't get anybody to pay for terrible acting. I haven't looked up the thing for. I haven't looked up the and soon the darkness. Is it free to view for real? Is it there? I haven't gotten to that point yet. I mean, did they put it up for free? The Soon the Darkness, though. I mean, her new film sounds awful anyhow because it basically plays into that ignorance about mental health, and it does play into a white savior trope. It very much is. People like to lie about like movies these days, and I don't care if it's that way. Like I don't see a problem. You can have that, but people react to it. People get tired of it. And she is definitely not somebody I would say have as a savior for it. But she's going to come in and she's going to convince people that the kid's not a witch. It's like, are you kidding me? And for coming from that background for mental health, I find it especially repugnant to have somebody like that is a victimizer of people being held aloft like they're a cure. Like they fix things. Ray Chu, is that Rai Chu Resa? Rai Chu Resa? Is that close? I see where I'm taking a screenshot of that. I'm going to figure out how to pronounce his name. I like your name. It's interesting. I like a challenge. So thank you for that. I hate being ignorant on a name though. That's why I ask. But yeah, the new filing that takes the place of the old, well, let's just say garbage, I think is a very good way of going with it. That last filing, the autism community is going to slaughter. Well, and again, I think there's a weird line in society these days where you can't talk about like things that even happened anymore. You have to be so afraid to offend, and I don't like that feeling. On the other side of that, though, come on. Like the people who buy into that, okay, Amber Heard tried to play into, she's tried desperately, like with BLM, for example, when all of everything was going on with BLM, she staged photographs. She staged them. I mean, come on. She pretended that she was part of things to stage activism photographs. If you want to play in that field, and you want to have the ability to cancel other people, well, you better not make a mistake. And she has made many. She has been lucky that she's somehow impervious to criticism. For the longest time, she was. When she was talking about ICE, or ICE, and she was like, "Hey, you better lock up your Hispanics. You better not. You better drive them home when they're cutting your lawn, because ICE is gonna get them." It's like, my God, are you kidding me? You can't see how messed up and racist that is. That's the thing, though. Most of the time, celebrities, people complain about the word "quote unquote" woke. I use that word because people like Amber Heard. See, it's a derisive term where those people, they held themselves aloft and they're like, "I see, I'm woke," and they're not. They're the worst people out there. Like Amber Heard is a terrible human being, and they would want you to believe that they're your white savior, and it's like, man, most people. Let me pull that comment up. I love that comment, by the way. Let me just pull it up real fast. I love that comment. It's one of my favorites because it just shows you how far removed. I also want the BLM photo. Let's get them both. BLM photo. She got lambasted for this picture. I'll pull them both up because a lot of people have forgotten about this stuff. So then I'll show you the differences that show you Warner Brothers. Again, Warner Brothers definitely contacted her. But look at these two. So you have I'm going to bring them both up, actually. So we'll do the IC one first, okay? So her comment here, just heard there's an ICE checkpoint in Hollywood, a few blocks from where I live. Everyone better give their nannies, their housekeepers, and their landscapers a ride home tonight. Oh my God. Come on, man. Just because people look different than you does not mean that. Nannies, first of all, they're illegals. Landscapers, they're illegals. It shows you what they think about the help. That's how they see you, the help. Oh, Lord. What a mess. That is a cell phone. You got to admit, that's a funny one. But it shows you how out of touch Hollywood is anyway. Then you had the BLM thing, which is pretty funny by itself. You know, the staged BLM photographs. Oh my God. Look, oh no, I'm at a protest. I swear I am. Oh Lord. Anyway, so let's look at that. So the new counterclaim from the old one, it became this. All right, and then this document here, this document, it basically it lays out this idea. You can see where Laura B has. I pulled up non-party border again. Anyway, they lay out this idea. They lay out this idea that JD and Adam Waldman have been in contact with media and social media. They won't mention. They won't mention at all. They will not bring up at all anything about Warner Brothers at the beginning. They won't bring up Aquaman. They call it that movie. So they go from all of those statements. They call it that movie. And you can see, again, Warner Brothers is the one that caused that. She didn't do that voluntarily. Warner Brothers caused it. Oh. I'm going to look over some more evidence in a minute. We're going to pick up where we were talking about that yesterday. Let me flip over to our sponsor for a second, though. Let me just talk about it for a minute. I will periodically hit it again. 7 days and change remaining in our. Let me refresh. Let's see where we're at. 32. All right. Thank you, folks. I wonder, like I said, if you want to back something, you want to be able. And again, people super chat and they do. I appreciate that stuff. If you want a product for your time, this is how we build alternative industry. We can complain forever about companies like Warner. Remember your superhero movies, Aquaman, they came from source material. That source material is awful these days because these companies, they create garbage. I mean, it's awful stuff. And they don't care about their customers. They have tanked. There used to be a mom and pop shops everywhere that sold comic books, right? Well, they tanked them. When we went in pre-Beer Bug, we only had a couple of thousand comic book shops remaining in the entire world. And the industry was killing them. It was a mess. And what they'll do, it's not just when Amber Heard comes out and makes statements, you know, how dismissive or ugly they've been. Comic pros are just like that or worse. They'll tell you to your face, we don't need your money. Well, that's fine, you know. I talked about that for a year and a half. In fact, a lot of people asked them, hey, change your ways, change your ways. Well, they didn't. Well, that's fine. Walk away from businesses like that, but never give up your hobbies. Never give them up because they're not theirs. You help build that. Even if you've never picked up a comic book. Again, these fights, they span across all of this. We have connected fights that go in because these people, they think that they can treat you like trash. Demand better. Show them. You know, you take your money from something that insults you. Here's the thing about online media. You never have to pay for a product ever. Like nobody can make you pay for anything. And when they tell you your money's not welcome, well, don't give them their money, you know? But again, don't give up anything that you like and help build alternative industry. That's what we want to be, alternative industry. We will create the best product that we can for you. We will never denigrate or disrespect you. Individually, you get a crazy person or two that comes out there. That can't be helped. Every now and then you'll get somebody. I will tolerate mostly anything. If you thought our comic book was trash, well, who cares? I could mute you online. I don't have to insult you and block you and treat you like garbage. But if somebody is reprehensible or repugnant, yes, there will be a couple of people. If they're making threats and being crazy, I will block people there. But very rarely. You know, I think I've blocked 30 people in my whole time online. So, and that doesn't include people. If you block me, I block people back on social media so they can't just sit there and snipe and report. But you can see our quality of product. This is what our new page right here. Again, that's S.K. Bennett. S.K. Bennett is a phenomenal creator. It will be the best product that we can make, but it's alternative industry. We can complain forever, or we can do something about this. And we can only do it with your help, though. If you truly believe that there needs to be something fixed, that these companies have broken something, again, you fix it by showing them how broken they are. You show them this could have been your money, but we're not going to give it to you. And again, if you don't want a comic book, if you don't care about that, I would want you to get product and like it. You know, I will look at it and see if you like it. That's what I mean. I hope if you didn't like it, you can say why. You know, but if you're not interested at all, again, we have a donation tier that you can donate to kids for that. But you see the artwork. This is our first cover. We have 2 covers on the book right now. Here's our first one. Here's the second one. The second one, again, the littlest umbrella that's modeled after my daughter when she looks at this. Again, that's why you have a detective with the umbrella, you know, because it's not a self-insert. It's for having, you know, my daughter when she looks at it. Hey, it's Dad and me. We go out and solve stuff. And we also have mini comics that go along with that, where you have the baby, you know, baby umbrella girl is involved. But we have the first comic book, second comic book, new covers. You can see proof of what pages look like. You know, you also get freebies like cards. Again, just look it over, read it. I don't want to spend all. We'll talk about it more at the end. But as we're going through, if you want to help us, you want to help us roll that thing up there, check it out. We need you. And look how close. Look at that. Almost to 80 freaking K. That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, that, like I said, the statements that we give with with indie alternatives is that you missed out on this. But it's not just about doing that. It's about, you know, after a while, after you burn out on these companies, I find this. After I've burned out on them, I never want to go back. Let me pull up the evidence here. Make sure I get the right one. I have 2 of it open, so I'll make sure I get the right one. I'm picking up right where I stopped. I was looking through last night, looking through all of the items on her list, and it's crazy because she plans on dumping medical records, piles of medical records for JD in there. She definitely plans on being vindictive. She has all of his tax records. They're listed as part of this. You can see where she plans on going with all of her evidence. And it's ugly. I mean, some of it is absolutely ugly. That's why a lot of people don't want to be attached to this case, because they know how vindictive it is, you know? And at the end of the day, like if I were Jason Momoa, I wouldn't want to be attached to this stuff. Jason Momoa has already been attached to it too, because of all of the discussion about his divorce. You know, he said, This is difficult for me to go through in the public eye. Well, what do you think this is doing to his family or relationships? What do you think when he knows that he's going to be spotlighted in the media? Again, you and I, when we're talking about something, we're not the media. The mainstream media has thrown him in to all of this. They discussed for a long time. Again, I talked about how there were sources, you know, talking about a relationship between the two. I could see her wanting to know about that, but she's throwing him in the public eye into this mess, and that's just crazy. Here's another membership here, Joni. Let's see, Kaltenbach, I think. I'm just gonna say Joni because the messenger shortens things, it squishes them up. So, Joni, welcome. Thank you for that membership too, and welcome to Tugs Thugs. Love it. Yeah. Die for JD. Thanks for the 5 there. Hey, Tug. Will the first few days of trial be sorting out the jury, or is that already sorted? No, the first day. Okay. To note, if hey, what's up, Hen? But the first day will be jury selection. All right. So they put out a statement that said that the communal camera pool I will go ahead and probably pull up stuff. See, I know people will be going live saying they're going to cover it on the 11th. Well, there's nothing to cover on the 11th. Coverage, as far as the court dictate, the court itself said that we can't show you. They're going to try to safeguard certain things, and certain things again are statements that are made privately. You can't broadcast those things. You can't you can't go in and you can't burn the jury for it. So they got to keep them out of out of the public eye there. Because this is big enough. This is big enough potentially to have ramifications if people don't like the outcome. Well, I mean, you could see blowback for the jury for sure, for sure. This is a big trial, and the judge, I think, not allowing that to be public, I think that's a good choice there. Again, you want to. There are certain things. I think the judge really took a stand when it came to even allowing this stuff to be broadcast to everyone. JD wanted it. She didn't want it. And again, she tried to manipulate through what this case is. This case, there are caveats that say you can't broadcast this coverage if. Okay, well, some of the caveats are for sexual crimes, like if somebody screamed rape, you may not be able to broadcast that. Well, that's what her did. Again, she's changed her language in her filings to evoke sensitivity from the jury, but also to get the judge to shut down coverage of it. She started talking about things like how she escaped her marriage. I had to think of the wording for it, instead of divorce. And she's done this for a little while now. Again, that's all about evoking a response, and that's going to be their movement with the jury too. They're going to try to evoke a response that says we put out enough. Again, they came back. They had 70 something pages. They came back with about 14 to 15 more pages of items to add on, because they want to drown people with enough minutia that it looks like evidence. Oh, well, you got 6 weeks of you got weeks of slides and things to show us. Well, it's got to be evidence, right? Here's the thing, too. We still don't know what's going to happen with metadata. We don't know what happened with the with the metadata denial. I'm sure we'll find out about that, but we don't know yet. Now, we had gotten up to a certain point. I wonder if Gal Gadot enjoys being thrown into this too, just to say. I mean, Gal Gadot, it's astounding. Like, Gal Gadot has had huge problems with people trying to cancel her. And Amber Heard unceremoniously drags her into this stuff too. Again, what's the point in bringing in Gal Gadot? Is she going to testify to anything? No. But they add in Gal Gadot. Now, you can see the dates on some of this are fascinating. She tries to add them around things. But I thought it was interesting to see Gal Gadot's name added to this, period. Because again, you talk about somebody that would not want to be added to this. Gal Gadot does not want to be involved in this show. Amber Heard shows her true colors for people that are involved with all of this too. I mean, if you think about it, like I said, Amber Heard, I think she was asked behind the scenes not to include people, or somebody got mad. Like I say, I think Jason Momoa probably got mad about being added to this case. Because again, it's a mess. But you've had plenty of stars out there that they've decided to throw in. Gal started doing happy somersaults after she heard she's involved. Yeah, holy hand grenades. I'm sure she did. I'm sure she was like, woohoo! I always wanted to get my career train wrecked. I mean, again, Gal Gadot's already had some real problems out there. She has problems. She has problems because she's Jewish. A lot of people take aim at her for that. They take aim at her because she was in the Israeli military. They take aim at her because of her faith. You don't see as much. You see some. It's usually international coverage that goes after her because of her being a her. You don't really see that much blowback within U.S. coverage, and I don't really see that in European coverage. But I've seen that, with opinions and being female, period. So she already gets crap for all kinds of stuff. I'm sure she appreciates that. And, she wants to make the distinction that look at us, we're strong females. We're main females, mainstay ones that are added to the DC, the DCEU. It's like, yeah, Mira isn't Wonder Woman. Let me say that again. Mira isn't Wonder Woman. Mira can be a very fascinating character if you played her right. But Gal Gadot, her portrayals of Wonder Woman have actually been pretty good. The first movie was good. That second movie was awful. Freaking awful. But that wasn't Gal Gadot's fault. She didn't make it that awful movie. It was just an awful movie. And Zack Snyder, part of his Justice League. I mean, Gal Gadot did well. And that was a long movie. God, 4 hours and change. I mean, come on. But it was a good movie. 4 hours is an insane movie. What happened to be able to make movies in an hour and a half, by the way? Ugh, 4 hours. But if you look here, like if you look from 2016, when all of this, when you have the last incident happen, like the dates here, you can see like Io Tillett Wright, her or his. Well, what is I? Is it Io? Is he? Her? I don't remember. I can't ever keep Io straight. I think that's he. I think that's that identity he. Like I said, I can't keep these people straight in my head. Io Tillett Wright, I think that was he. So you can see though from the incident afterward, like this is after the incident. So all of this crap happens after the fact. I mean, look how many, like this audio file. We know, first of all, we know this was a shock when it went into the UK 2020, by the way. She set up behind the scenes a meeting with JD. She recorded that meeting. That's why she wants Christian Carano, his evidence kicked out. And thank you. Thank you, Kelsey. I couldn't remember. Like it always, yeah. If I personally, I don't need to insult anybody for identity or anything like that. It's just, I can't remember. Like I could insult these people a million ways from Sunday, and it would never need something like that. I don't need to make fun of their appearance or anything like that because their moves. Like you don't have to. These people made a farce out of this entire this debacle, and it is a debacle. I mean, they made it a joke. Like they went out, they wanted to cancel the biggest star that existed there. They wanted to cancel him, and they didn't tighten up the ship. Like again, if I were somebody, let's just say, just for the sake of argument, I was a co-conspirator in this stuff, right? I would never have, and to say my morals were loose enough to be part of that, okay? I would have a real problem with the fact that, first of all, the person that's involved there, they were willing to make claims, but they had nothing to back them up. No medical records, anything else. And then when they get together, their text messages, they call a PR agent before they call law enforcement. I mean, it's just a mess. then where they're talking about how that comes together, they actually they forget their geotags are attached. I mean, Io Till It Right was so upset by this stuff that Io. Give me one second. I'm gonna show you something. That Io Till It Right threatened to sue that Brian fella. Incredibly average. I thought that was amazing. I did. I thought that was amazing to see because Io Till It Right was so mad that somebody would question them with everything that was going on. They threatened to sue. I mean, Io Till It. Wait a second. I couldn't believe that they had the audacity to threaten him again with litigation, and they did. That's absolutely the way that they went. They tried to. I was going to see if I had that like right off the bat. If I don't, I'm not going to pull it up. I'll just tell you about it. Yeah, okay. I don't have it right here, so I'll just tell you about it real fast. So Io Till It Right is one of the main co-conspirators. You have all of these issues that come up with geotagging. I mean, there's just 1,000,001 discrepancies that come up within everything they do. Incredibly Average brings that up. And what happens when Incredibly Average brings it up? Threats of litigation. Yeah, I did videos on it, but they did. They threatened, oh, well, if you keep this up, we're going to send you a cease and desist. By the way, send me a cease and desist. Send me, 5 of them. I'll use it as a napkin. I mean, we're not doing anything. These people know that you're not doing anything wrong either by covering this. You're allowed to cover cases. You're allowed to have an opinion on a case. You're absolutely 100% allowed to have an opinion on these cases. They don't want you to have one, again, but you're allowed to have it. But they tried to shut him down, pretending they weren't attached to this high profile thing. And I'm sure that Brian felt, I don't know why he stopped making videos. I've speculated a little bit. I don't know. But I respect him for what he did too. That is his choice 100%. I loved what he used to do. I like what he still does with Twitter. I loved his videos. And props to him for kicking that stuff off. But anyway, so you go all the way back to the 16th, and you can, or 2016, and you could see all of the pieces that are covered. What's funny about these pieces too, I noticed something that they've taken out. They've taken out all discussion here about settlements and charitable donations. I don't see them popping up. Do you? Because before they would brag about, oh well, I gave away all the money to charity. That was a bragging point in the UK. Well, notice they're not putting that into their argument right here. They don't have like 5,000 articles talking about how they're donating everything to charity. I think that's amazing. That tells you 100% that they messed up big time with charitable organizations. They messed up when they brought that stuff in. They know that they messed up. I'm proud of them, by the way. I mean, that was a huge mistake that they made. Like, you don't step in and say, hey, I'm gonna represent what is essentially charity fraud. I'm gonna go to bat for that. But she did. She went to bat for what is essentially, like I said, charity fraud. You gotta love it. You do. I mean, you have to love it. You have to love how dumb these people are. But she doesn't represent that. She doesn't talk about it at all. The Eric George stuff is really funny. The ACLU letters that they start to bring in here, their emails, the time to act and all of that. That's really interesting. Again, co-conspiracy. Remember, that was to the point too. They're trying to deflect and they're trying to explain it away. But that's the entirety of the case. Like what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to convince a jury that JD is guilty because otherwise, their own letters, their own mailings will doom them. Like, remember, all of this was based on denial at first. They even tried to get the case. What always bothers me about cases, and it bothers me that there's no repercussion or ramification for this, is the fact that they denied 100% that they had anything to do with here I'm pulling some up. They had anything to do with trying to cancel him. He canceled himself. That was always the narrative. And again, just to remind people, these are redacted. I redacted some portions out of them because that's the way I cover it. But yeah, they 100% got caught plotting with the ACLU, trying to turn this into a Trump thing, because that's the easy way to go. They 100% got caught talking about how look at me, I'm dancing around your non-disclosure agreement for your marriage. Look at the way I skirted around your marriage. Again, they're going to have to explain these things. And they said that the op-ed wasn't about JD. Well, if you look at this statement right here, 2 years ago, after I got my TRO against my then husband, I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. So this was the early draft of the article, and it 100% says who's it's about. So they denied. They were like, well, we never used JD's name. Oh, you planned on it behind the scenes, but you did your little happy dance, and you patted yourselves on the back, thinking that if he sued you, he would never get far enough to prove that this stuff was about him. They thought they could get the case dismissed before they got there. Remember, before the ACLU was put on blast, the ACLU actually tried to get involved in this case, pretending that they were just some concerned third party. Like, that's crazy. X, what's up? Thanks for the 5 there. We all know if you get a cease and desist, you're framing that sheet, adding it to your intro, and probably even as a bonus to your page in your comic. I think it's funny. Like I'm kind of convinced that we're going to get brought up. There's something that's come up from what I'm understanding that will explain the addition of names for like my name in there, like how we get involved. And I'm wondering, I figure it'll come into the trial. We may actually get like certain people brought up, and if they do that, I'm gonna laugh about it a lot. I'm absolutely 100% gonna laugh about it a lot. Because these folks, see, this is the dance that they tried. They tried not to bring us into it at all. They tried to mention us in weaponized statements, but they redacted statements about us. Well, that didn't work. The problem is, and this tells you how hypocritical their statements are too. They were bringing up items in the courtroom, redacting out names. Like, again, they brought up my Twitter and redacted it. That means they put a black bar across it. And the reason I found out that was it is because Eve Barlow, who travels with Amber Heard, brought my name into this and said the exact same thing that did. She just filled in the blanks. So when she was going after the channel, they're going after us in the courtroom. They're trying to weaponize. Again, what I do, like, you can pretend in some way, shape, or form that being open to sources that would somehow in some way have some kind of for sale sign on it. But that would be, what's funny about that is their indictment there. That brings in everything they've ever done with the media, because they, number one, 100%, were not just bringing up stuff with the media. They were for sale. Again, they were telling the media, this is what you need to write. And I think it's funny because when they bring in people like Laura B, for example, when Laura B gets brought up in this, you know what Laura B's crime is? Laura B's crime is, drink this idea in here. Laura B's crime is not going the way that they want to go. Laura B's crime is reading the evidence. What a monster, right? I just I'm always surprised by that. Oh, by the way, I want to show you this. So this is a big one. I need to do this in another video. I want people to see. Somebody was asking me for something that I mentioned about Adam Waldman. They were saying, I don't remember the stuff about them writing the media and basically telling them what to say. Well, luckily, they got Adam Waldman suspended, but they didn't knock out everything that he had for evidence because it was already out there. So I screenshot what he was saying. Let me pull this up. Somebody was asking me to show that, and I actually like this. I think this is such an indictment of the media. So here, Powers Court. I'm proving something with this. Powers Court is the PR team handling Amber Heard. Okay. Now I got to make sure of something real fast. I got to make sure everything's redacted off of this. Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm making sure everything's redacted off a message. All right. Here's an email from Powers Court to a media organization. All right. Give me 1 second. I'm making sure again that everything was redacted off of it. So here's them writing. Hope you're doing well. We wanted to give you a heads up on a major development in the JD versus NGN case overnight. I will forward the judgment once we receive it from the U.S. and per usual, anything you need, feel free to call Mark or myself. A crucial witness, Melanie Iglesias, did not want to give evidence in the UK case, which now starts July the 7th, because she was fearful of her career in Hollywood. Iglesias is a makeup artist and signed a declaration to the U.S. courts stating that she had to conceal that certain Aquaman starlet's bruises, ripped out hair, cut up lip, all because of JD, ahead of an appearance on The Late Show with James Corden in 2015. Again, I'm just going to read it how it is because I want you to hear this, okay? Now, you see, they're telling them, first of all, they're going to give them a document. They're going to give them something that's exclusive. And they're telling them how to translate it right now, okay? Iglesias did not have to give testimony in the British court unless she was compelled to give evidence. In a motion to quash the order compelling Iglesias to provide testimony in foreign proceedings, her lawyer stated, if NGN request is granted and Ms. Iglesias is forced to testify publicly in this high-profile matter about things she saw in a celebrity client's home, her career will undoubtedly suffer. The U.S. court, which is Central District of California, will have to testify later in the UK. The UK case will therefore hear the evidence of how. So they go through this, okay. Now here's your second part. This is the good part. 1 minute. Again, remember, this is written to the media, leaking documents. This is proof of document leak, first of all. Iglesias did not have to testify. You heard all of that. You heard all of that there. So this is where we are. We've attached her original witness declaration, separate U.S. One passage from the statement reads, so they're telling you, when you look at this statement, this is what you need to focus on here. Notice this. And if you look up articles from that time period talking about this, you can see this take shape as what they say in the article. So they tell them, this is the passage that you need to focus on. When I saw her, I saw this. Well, Amber told me throughout the discussion I was applying makeup. A spokesman for her said. So then they give their statement. This is how they're giving them ready-made articles. Third-party testimony is proof of the injuries that she suffered. So they're telling them, look, you need to put this in there. You need to make this the crux of it because we're giving you free information. We're giving you an exclusive. Third-party testimony is further proof of injuries that she suffered. During her marriage, she was eventually forced to get a restraining order against him, dragged through the British courts and the glare of the media, forcing her to relive these experiences. However, She will get to tell her full story in court next month. Kind regards. So again, they're leaking documents. Her PR team, this is her PR team, writing the media, telling them, here is something exclusive for you. This is a document. And by the way, with this document, this is what you need to write. They didn't translate it for them. They told them exactly what to say with it. They told them the narrative to take. And if you look at documents, that's exactly what you see again and again. Third-party testimony. Well, that is something you hear all the time. Well, it's somebody that throws out an accusation. That very well it proves that proof. That's amazing, though, isn't it? Who's streaming without commentary? I'm not. You'll have a feed out there somewhere, but here's the thing that you're going to run into with YouTube. People are going to talk during it. I'll talk a little bit. I'm not as heavy on commentary as some folks that'll go through, but what'll be really fun with that again, you'll get sources like the same news that told you exactly what you should feel this whole time. Well, so you can watch stuff wherever you want, but man, if you pump numbers into the same mainstream that has freaking put a hit piece together for 5 years, you're just feeding that thing. And Court TV. Oh, Court TV. So Court TV actually put out what they're going to do. You've got to. Let me show you. Court TV. They made it very clear what their intention on this is. Court TV, man. I've seen some nasty stuff, but I remember back in the day, I used to watch Court TV. I used to like Court TV, even, way back. But now, I've been shocked by their coverage. So this is what Court TV put together. This was their starter for it, just to give you an idea of how that's going to be covered by some of these places, to give you an idea of how biased some of these are. Let me see. Let me make sure I got sound on, actually. These places are nasty. I didn't have my sound on. Here. I don't know if I'll play this whole thing, but check it out.
Actor Johnny Depp, who was hoping a British court would help restore his image and kickstart his career, instead was dealt a major blow by a judge, dismissing his claims against a British tabloid. Depp sued The Sun for libel after a 2018 article called him a wife-beater, but Justice Andrew Nicol of the High Court of England sided with the newspaper, saying what they published was, quote, substantially true. The ruling comes after weeks of salacious testimony and video and audio evidence presented to the court during a trial in London.
Oh, you're crazy.
Look at that. Look, they take the edited video, and they further edit the video. Like, this is, you talk about hit piece. They further edited this video. So you had it come out from TMZ as an edited video. You have it added to the court where you have more put into that. Now, look what they did here. I mean, this is nasty. See, you got this. It makes it. They put together a framework that, my God. Like, again, you got to be careful. Yeah, you may find some places, like even a Court TV may give you a unmodified, but you just got to be careful when you write. So I'll try to find one that that is out there that's coming from some kind of court pool where you can at least tune into it and not full, because I mean there are so many aspects that are messed up about this stuff. God, with seeing that though, that just irritates me. I watched this. Anyway.
Front and center.
You see how they made it look like he assaulted her in that? Look at this.
Oh, you got this going? Oh, really? Really?
Front and center.
See, look at that. They made it look like there's an assault happening. And the reality is, she set up a spy camera on him. She set up her phone and tried to bait him into something. He picks it up and she laughs about it at the end when he's leaving. He's like, "This is trash, basically. You trying to burn me with this kind of stuff?" God, I don't even want to play this 7 minutes. You should go look at that though, because God, it's so irritating. I may put all of that into one live stream just to make a point with that kind of stuff. But the document or the way that they cover, my God, man. Like I said, a lot of these places, they do their best to frame arguments. And what are they going to do? What are they going to add into all their coverage with it as well? And here's the thing that we face on YouTube. We already have, the mainstream media is given preferential treatment over us. The algorithm, when there's discussion about it, Sky News, all these, if you've noticed, like Sky News on their coverage, they'll have a couple of million hits on something, where they're talking about it. Well, that's because when you search this topic, you have to dig deep to find us covering it. They try to make sure that we don't have a say in there because we're not a quote-unquote trusted source. See, they went in and they made deals, these places, giving them a trusted source tag in the algorithm. And that was showcased when there was a lot of blowback about Captain Marvel. You had the movie there. And they decided to change the algorithm and add in a trusted source tag. So, like I said, when you search people, if you notice, when you search a name, like a topic like Amber Heard, you don't necessarily have YouTubers pop up first. You have to find the coverage for it. Because again, those people, they get preferential treatment. And when you tune into them to watch it, you further that. So, it's a delicate dance for it. Even if you don't watch, like say you decide you want to watch myself or Ricada Law or Legal By, whomever's covering. I'm sure there's a million people out there covering, but whomever you decide to cover, or whoever decides to cover it, like for me, I'm going to park. I have a couple of computers over here, around me. I'm going to park my computers. I'm going to park them on certain channels, so they actually get watching metrics. They're going to have metrics of a viewer, just because I don't want to give it to the mainstream. So you have to be careful with that. Anyway, so you have again all of the Eric George items. You have articles, for the blast. They're going to say, "Oh well, look at where he was contacting the media. This is going to be the attack on Adam Waldman, James Franco." So James Franco, of course, is going to be testifying. That's why you have him brought up in this stuff too. He will be there. And again, James Franco is so desperate to get his career back. God knows what he'll say. God knows. Now, like I said, there's a testimony that will play against him if he's not careful. So he has to be careful in that. But I think he'll still get raked over the coals for it. And Manson, that is, of course, going to be attached to that because Marilyn Manson, a friend of JD's. Well, of course. Well, look at what Marilyn Manson is going through. Oh, man, they're all monsters, right? Christian, it's funny. She wants certain people removed. Like I said, she wants the same guy you see appearing again and again. She wants all of his statements removed or redacted because, if he comes up, then you have medical records. You'll notice there's a bunch of medical records that are coming in. So imagine how, again, something that bothers me about this case. Imagine how the media would cover that if the medical records of a person that they had been shilling for were to be brought in because they were wanting to go after somebody that they say victimized them. Imagine if you saw every item ever talking about them. Here's your picture. Oh, look, he passed out. Look how many pictures she took of him sleeping. That's creepy, man. You know, look at. Oh, look, they're drugs. I just think it's funny. Like she so desperately wants substance abuse to be domestic abuse, not realizing. I hope to God that Epstein brings this up. If substance abuse equals domestic abuse, then her alcoholic ass is a substance abuser. So what does that say? You have the tax records. Again, look at all of his tax records that come up. All of these tax records that are brought in. You see his. Of course, she's going to have to bring some of hers in. But you see all of his records. Look at this. I mean, you have theme park agreements for Captain Jack Sparrow. So you get to find out how that works together probably. I wonder how much you'll see of that. I'm surprised they haven't leaked all of that yet. But I mean, look at this. Look at how many, again, personal records that the man has. Everything. Could you imagine your life laid bare? And that was, again, her whataboutism and her vindictiveness. She definitely, again, she was willing to dox his sister, her addresses. She put them into the public eye. So why wouldn't she take him down too? I mean, that's just, like I said, it gives me such a headache to think about how crazy these people are. It's amazing to me to see proof of how insane these folks are and how insane they act. But you see Franco again. Oh, see all the other articles that come up. Now she's gonna have her records that have to come into that because she's gonna have to explain. One of the things that she's gonna have to try to explain. I really want to know if she got paid for the stand. But one of the things that I need to look that up. But one of the things that she's going to have to try to explain is how damages for herself they come up to, because she claimed $100 million in damages. I mean, if you look here again, Warner Brothers. I've asked this before. How did she go from? She's making bonuses, like big bonuses for Aquaman, the original, as it swims past $500 million earnings worldwide. You can see all the discussions there. Almost got $1 billion. The studio is thrilled. Oh, congrats. The studio is thrilled with what's happening with Amber Heard. How do you go from the studio being thrilled about what's happening to them not wanting to pick up your option? Like, riddle me that. What happened in that time span where they're thinking about not even picking up your option behind the scenes? I mean, that. And for her to get back in, again, she had to make a lot of promises. And those lot of promises, she didn't follow through. But like I was saying, you have all of the discussions with big name people too that are attached to that. James Wan, Jason Momoa, Zack Snyder, other big names that are in the hierarchy of Warner Brothers. They don't want to be brought into this as well. Now that's all going to be put, it's all going to be put into this. Online trolling related to Aquaman 2. You see that? Email from her assistant, RE online trolling related to. You know what they're calling online trolling? People getting pissed off and wanting her removed from the movie. That's online trolling. You don't actually, you're not a real person. And if you are a real person, you're a troll. You're not somebody that's bothered by what happened. L'Oreal's analysis of negative buzz surrounding Amber Heard, the PowerPoint. So they gave a PowerPoint on how she's damaging them. Like, I think that's amazing. Like, the blowback. You want to know that people are having an impact? L'Oreal put a PowerPoint together saying, yo, you're killing our products here because of the negative buzz around her. So, I think that says quite a bit, doesn't it? Like, can you imagine that? Here's all your photos, millions of photos. All of these, again, you didn't get to actually question what was happening with that stuff. I want to see that photo. Yeah, I want to see that PowerPoint myself. You got the LAPD's response cards. I'm reading through some of these. Oh, Depp on a boat. It's crazy to see. Again, some of the items, if you read through here. Also, somebody was bringing up connections with dates in some of the letters that she was writing to herself. Like the day she got married, she put out one of those letters to herself around any type of major dealing where she had issues. Did that here? Donation check to the Art of Elysium. Now that's interesting because Jennifer Howe said, yeah, when I had a problem with them choosing other charities and not my charity because I had boosted them up so much, they tried to buy my silence. So I like how they added that to say, well, we give, here's a donation letter, therefore that proves everything. They're going to have some real problems with charitable donations. They're going to play the game. Oh, thank you for your charitable donations. While at the same time, yeah, text RE donations. Yeah, here's the thing, though. You can put up as many texts and congratulations. You actually have to give them money, though, like for real. And you were supposed to give them your 7 or 3.5 and 3.5. It was supposed to be your money, not Rocket Man's money or another person's money. It was supposed to be your money you got from JD. So getting to keep that $7 million wasn't supposed to be their thing. And you can see a bunch of document requests. So here's where we requested all of this stuff from him. That takes up a lot of responses. I mean, just the request for give me this, give me that. Look, it's like 3 pages of just document requests. Then it continues on with that. Like I said, there's just random photographs there too. What do they prove? Nothing. But hey, I'm going to enjoy them trying to sell me the idea that they have they have proof of injury in some of those, when they're playing that game. The CHLA here is a big lie that they're going to try to promote. This is the one that Laura B. actually exposed. The honor roll of donors. They're going to try to use that information, saying that proves that they were giving money. But as Laura B. very well, very, very eloquently pointed out through her analysis of this stuff, they will list you if you make a pledge to them. And if you look at the dates on this stuff, we actually have emails showing that she wasn't giving any money. Like she hadn't made good on the pledges, but they're still going to try to put that in there. Amber and dog. Amber and unidentified female. Amber and dance rehearsal. Again, just random. I mean, it's like, okay. Amber with toothbrush. But I mean, look at these. Like, there's pictures we haven't seen, but the reality of all of this stuff is you don't get to. Why does it matter? By the way, you may be asking about metadata. Well, if the metadata is fake, you don't truly know if a photograph not only has been manipulated, but when it came from. And there's already ways to fake that stuff. You could easily fake metadata. Again, we looked through that report that talked about all you got to do is turn your phone off of airplane mode or on airplane mode, so you're not connected to anything. You go through, you basically take a few, you take a few precautions to make sure that your phone needs to be reset, and then it just reads like it's a brand new phone. It tells you nothing. So all these pictures, you got nothing. You didn't have anyone get to go through and question when they come from, where they come from, you know. What a messed up relationship, though. Because I never in my life would have thought scalp injury. Yeah, I'd like them to explain that tag in the scalp, though. That was the weirdest thing. I never noticed that before. But on that so-called scalp injury, I would like it explained why there is a tag in the scalp line. You know, because it does look like one. They want, like I said, they want all of these Carino texts. They want that stuff taken out. But again, this gives you an idea of, I mean, this is their entire case. That's all of it. That's their whole case. All of it. So if you're curious about it, you know, that's their entire case. These are public filings too. So 85 pages of it. You know, anybody can pull these, but there are a million documents out there that are attached to this thing too. Like I said, there's so many of them, and we haven't even gotten into reviewing like all the new ones, because some of these are 85 freaking pages in length, and when you look through them, it takes 2 days just to walk through all the slides for all the evidence. Everything she's been doing smacks of Gone Girl. Yeah, that's exactly what I think with it, you know. I think it really does. I think it really does reek of reek of that movie. You know, is it possible to inspect metadata with specific software to see if it's been? Yes, Mike. Actually, they tried to do that. They had an expert. Okay, so in the NGN case, they had an expert come in, and the expert said that there was manipulation of metadata. So JD was supposed to be able to go in and look at that. There was an order the court laid down, and Heard was supposed to, it was laid down on November the 8th. She was supposed to have all of that turned over by November the 30th. They didn't turn over one single item until March of this year. So the expert came out and said, I don't have time to go through this. I can't run the data. And what they did, too, on top of that, they were told to only turn over specific items that are pertinent to this case, you know, to turn over X, Y, and Z. Well, what they started doing is dumping tens of thousands, 58,000 plus pictures onto his expert. So again, he's not going to have time to do all of that, to go through it, because there's so much non-pertinent information. So he's asking for sanctions because of that. And he's also asking whether that stuff can either be thrown out or a statement given in the courtroom, which something should happen with that. I mean, really, if a court says, yo, you got to have this done by November the 30th, 2021, and you don't turn over anything. Apparently, they didn't even start looking at the drives. That means they didn't even start getting things ready on their side until December, and then they took a break, and then they started back up in January. And again, they didn't turn over anything at all during that time. So yeah, there's a way you can look at it. And JD was given a ruling for it, but according to him, Heard didn't follow through. They ate time in this case. So that's some decimating. What that says to you is they know that their case is very weak, and they figured that the judge won't do anything. Basically, she's not running her own stuff anyhow. So her own, as far as pricing is concerned, she's not paying for anything. There's been a huge question coming out of JD's camp on who pays the bills. Is it Rocket Man? Did the ACLU basically sign her up where she's insured against litigation when they co-partnered? Now there's been some discussion too. Here's something that would come from that. If it's an insurance company that's attached, there was discussion about settlement, and again, I'm not saying this from anybody involved in the part. I'm saying that there was discussion online about settlement. And that idea, I could see her wanting to settle, but I don't imagine that she would want to give any concession. She wouldn't just come out and say, yo, I messed up, I did wrong. What she would want to do is say, I didn't mean any harm, just like, they said after the divorce. So I don't see how that goes. But with the discussion of with settlement, again, I could see that with an insurance company because they wouldn't want to face the liability that this thing is. So it really, there's, like I said, there's a discussion of who even pays the bill. But she ain't paying the bill. JD's paying the bill. He's paying these millions and millions of dollars that have to come up just to get information out there. He had to pay millions and millions of dollars just so this stuff got filed in a court. So when they bring, witness statements forward and all that, it becomes public documentation. And you and I get to look at it. Again, that's swaying the court of public opinion, which is smart. You need that. You need that information out there. What's amazing is there are still people out there that either they want to dismiss it or I don't know. Like, you have people that are also afraid to, again, use items like men's rights. They're afraid to talk about that stuff, and they'll just write both of them off. I especially hate the people that want to write off victims of domestic violence because they have a fat wallet or because they're in Hollywood. That shouldn't matter in any way, or because they have a different politic than you. That disgusts me. But we see that a lot in these cases. We have a lot of people that are just like, oh, well, let's just write them both off. Screw them. No, you look at the evidence. You look at it. You decipher it. But again, it's easier to just pick up the torch and the pitchfork. Just burn them both because, hey, Hollywood. Because most people hate Hollywood. Again, I have no love for Hollywood either. I have no love for the idea of celebrity. But at the end of the day, the only people that can afford to fight this stuff, the only people that balance it out for the little person like you or me, are the people with the fattest wallets. And you shouldn't wish this on anybody. This is a terrible situation. Again, the guy built a career out of nothing. He started, in the horror realm, like, the casual dismissal horror realm back when, and managed to build himself up to the top of the game. Just like I said, it astounds me to see that. There are a lot of people that do that stuff, man. A lot of it is fear. Like with platforms, I don't try to. I hate the opinion, but I understand why people do it because they're afraid of this platform. This platform, or any platform, they hate the idea of men's rights. They treat it like it's a terrible statement, and it's not, because it's no statement against women. It's a statement that, again, men need something. I've talked about the guy who put together charities and was driven to suicide. His name was Earl Silverman. I kept forgetting his name. So I want to pull this up real quick just to show you how broken things are. Earl Silverman. So Earl Silverman was he was a Canadian. Let me pull this up here. He was a Canadian domestic rights advocate, and what he wanted, he was a man who had dealt with abuse himself, So he wanted to build men's shelters. Now, I'm gonna read you this just because this is how jacked up it is. I'm gonna read it from Wikipedia. The information is right. It's just very compressed. And the media, oh my God, if you look this guy up, after his suicide, they dogpiled him because he was standing up for men. So Silverman, he moved to Calgary, 78. He escaped a violent, abusive wife sometime before 1991, but was unable to find a domestic abuse shelter that could take him in, and would face ridicule at the hands of the police, which he said ultimately caused him to retaliate in defense. While plenty of shelters for women existed, the only public funded services for men were for anger management. So if you were beaten, you were still a victimizer. You couldn't be a victim in those crimes. The only service that was provided was anger management for men. As a victim, I was re-victimized by having these services tell me that I wasn't a victim, but I was a perpetrator. And so after leaving his home, he spiraled into self-abuse and alcoholism. He founded the Family of Men Support Society and served as a president and a program coordinator organization. The society maintained a telephone crisis line for over a decade to assist men in all matters of abuse. And the society was founded in 1992. It reportedly faced problems seeking funding from local governments. Now, the Men's Alternative Safe House, or MASH. MASH was started in the early 2000s in Earl's own house in Calgary, making it the only privately funded shelter for male victims of abuse, domestic abuse in Canada. It was listed in the Safe or Stop Abuse for Everyone list of resources as early as May 2004. An erroneous claim that MASH, again I'm leaving off the number, took in its first refugee in 2011, which appears on a number of websites, is based on a misreading of its announcement in 2011. On website, not of the first male that was housed there, but of the first time a male victim had been referred by a local principal government and funded by a grant of $1,000 for them, thus making Earl optimistic that his decade-long advocacy on behalf of male domestic violence victims was finally being recognized and legitimate. But in contrast to the hundreds of millions of dollars the Canadian government provides for women's shelters, this one-time $1,000 grant. So here's the thing. He thought there are no alternatives for men to go out there. Again, a man gets abused, a man gets anger management classes because he has to be the victimizer. This guy gets $1,000 from the government to help with that, while hundreds of millions of dollars are placed into this. Again, there's a system already in place. And when this guy is trying to do this, this goes against the status quo. It goes against the idea, again, the whole system idea that men are the perpetrators. They can't be victims as well. So go and read articles about Earl Silverman. They're the nastiest freaking things right after the guy kills himself. So anyway, MASH hosted about 20 fleeing men and children in the first 4 months, 2013, before being shut down because he can't afford it. He's funding this out of his own pocket. So with no available funds to help, Silverman, he funded the running costs and bills himself, failing to raise significant amounts from either government or private donations. In early 2013, he announced that the sanctuary would be closing because he could no longer afford to run it due to a lack of funding. He had to sell his house because he couldn't afford it. It drove him to bankruptcy, and he committed suicide the next day. So Silverman was found dead by hanging in his garage in apparent suicide. His body was discovered by the guy who bought the home, who called for help but was unable to save him. He left a 4-page suicide note condemning the government for failing to recognize male victims of domestic abuse. Financial ruin and ridicule was said to have contributed to his suicide. He also wrote that he hoped his death would bring more awareness. So again, this is what he got for trying to help male victims. And you know what? This should show you, again, you go online, like I'll post something about men's rights here. And you look at the way that you have pages that are like, that are called like destroyer of MRAs, men's rights advocates. It's fucking crazy. This would be universally condemned if it rolled another way. But this guy, again, it ruined him because he wanted to be the first, and he went against a system where a lot of people made a lot of money. This shows you how this stuff looks. And it still is like that. This happened in 2013. You have all of this stuff pop off with Depp 3 years after that. You think things got better? No, absolutely not. It's the same thing. Like you go out and you try to find resources for men. It doesn't happen. And again, people want to pretend like if you say that, that's somehow a slight against women. No, everybody needs help. Like, if you're in that situation, you need resources too. Finding resources, though, again, running into a system that considers you the abuser. We hear people talk about how society condemns women for the way they dress. Oh, you deserved it because you were wearing X. Well, again, imagine if you were wearing X, but that was because you were born with a certain piece of anatomy. You deserved it because you were wearing a penis. That's what you're hearing. But society found that to be okay. Governments found that to be okay. They drove the man to fucking suicide for it. So, yeah, like I think that if JD would have killed, what would happen if they drove JD to the ultimate end? JD would have been listed as a victimizer. Always. Even with all the evidence right out, if they managed to drive him to that end. And can you imagine this being your life? Like, I can say yes, but I can't. I can't imagine that it's not a month to month or day to day. It's hour to hour and minute to minute. See, it always kills me. Like, I'll see comments about, oh my God, this one was over. It'll never end for that guy. I'm sorry about your precious time being wasted, because people are having their lives ruined. It just astounds me when I see that kind of stuff. Until things change. That's one thing I hate about the way society sets up. Until things change, the problem isn't over. It may end for one person, but it doesn't end for everybody. And advocacy, this just needs to be a starting point for a lot of changes. And I am proud to see how much people have done and how loud people have been because of this. I'm proud of that. I think it's beautiful in that way. But it shows you, like, again, my God. That guy, he wrote a 4-page suicide note. Again, if you look up, here's a statement from the media. I was gathering some screenshots because I thought about covering that to talk about it with people, But give me a second. I was taking screenshots of articles. So, here's an intro for one. In the days since his appearance, suicide, the myths that men are abused as often as, and they typoed it as men, and realities that men abuse victims have returned around the so-called men's rights movement, leaving advocates on both sides conflicted, as Silverman himself. We attempt to sort that stuff out. They did hit pieces on him when he died. They did hit pieces. Oh, this guy, he says that men are abused too. Well, that's not true. They're not abused as often. Okay, as often is not saying that it doesn't happen, and no resources is bad. The government just wanting to ignore it. And if you think that's not the case, look at acts out there. They don't say violence against persons. Like when the ACLU approached Amber Heard. Why did they approach Amber Heard? Why wouldn't they approach an accuser of, say, Kevin Spacey? Because the act that they wanted to influence is not an act that's violence against persons act. It's a violence against women's act. It doesn't bring up the other side of the equation because, again, there's this idea that you can't be victimized as a male. That is an uphill battle for someone like JD. It's an uphill battle for someone that needed that. And of course why would you? Of course he didn't come out and say that. Like, look at how society reacted. Look what she said. Why don't you tell the world, Johnny? Tell the world that I, Johnny Depp, am a victim of domestic violence. Let's see who they believe. And nobody believed him at first. Well, I mean, people did believe, but not. I'm talking about the powers that be, as far as that is concerned. People saw the problem there. People heard that and were like, ugh. But the powers that be, care less. A lot of money exchanges hands, and they make sure that money. See, here's the reality to that too. A lot of that grant money doesn't go to men or women. It goes to people who run these places. Because, okay, when you looked at, again, Time's Up is the perfect example. You have you have an organization that says that it's going to go out and it's going to represent victims of. Okay, what do they do with all the money that they gather? Around 10% or less goes to the actual thing that they said they were going to do. 33% of their money, I can't remember if it's 33% goes to all salaries, and 25% of it goes to just 3 people, or if it was all 33% that goes to 3 people. But rather, you have 2 to 3% of that. I mean, 2 or 3 times that, rather, going to salaries of just a few people rather than going to the actual people that it's supposed to represent. In fact, the money that was spent on that, you had more money going to Hollywood parties than you actually had money going to advocate. And what does that mean? That tells you it didn't go to anybody. So the reality is, why does someone like Earl Silverman, what do they represent? They represent, as a crusader, they represent a challenge to the status quo. So, of course, they got to be shut down. That's the one thing that's scary in a case. That's why the UK 2020 looked so abysmal. Look at their laws about a man being accused. When they say, well, someone being accused, they mean a man being accused. Look at how their laws treated that. And that is wrong, It's basically, it backed the idea of whoever accused first. And that's trash. That's what we hear, though. Well, right when it was done, he should have just been out the door and said, bam, I'm being abused. And even then, he would have faced scorn and ridicule. Oh my God, that woman right there, she hurt you, big man. You see how that would have gone. That's how society. Oh, you play a macho guy, but look at how, look at Will Smith. Will Smith couldn't knock the smile off of Chris Rock's face, and he gets ridiculed for that. That's a man-on-man thing. You think that being beaten behind the scenes after you're hired as a tough guy, being harmed behind the scenes, do you think people would have been, oh man, I'm sorry to hear about that? Hell no, they would have turned him into a fucking meme. Because that's how society operates. It's nasty. It's true, though. Christine, what's up? Thanks for the 5 there. It's impossible to know the actual number since TV is underreported. I would imagine men are much likely to report abuse than women. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the reality there, too. I've had many times in my life where, like, a female, I'm not saying in my relationship now, just very clear about that. I'm saying, like, in school or whenever. Like, I remember in school, if a female got mad, it'd slap you in the face or something like that. It was just expected. You're expected to take it, number one. But you also, it wasn't a problem. They'd just be like, psh, it's all good. So the violence toward, it's just written off anyway. And yeah, it would make you less of a man to report it. It would, in the size of society. If you're being abused behind closed doors, heck yeah. Society treats that like it's weakness. And that's a sad reality. It is. I hope that's why cases like this matter. Because again, the way that you change it, you're not going to get private funding to change it. I bet you money, if we went through Time's Up, I bet you they never represented a male. I bet you, like with the money there. I'm not talking about like Roberta Kaplan. Roberta Kaplan, oh yeah, she represented males like Harvey Weinstein, Juicy Smollett. Yeah, she represented males all right. But I'm talking about like males that were trying to say that something happened. Of course, I'm sure that they out of their 10%, I bet you they never represented a male at all. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if that happened. And yeah, it's definitely underreported, but people treat the underreporting like that. That's proof of something. Oh well, this only happens X amount of times. Yeah, because societally, that the same thing happens with. That's why with men, when I talk about men's needs, suicide rates are through the roof. And then, again, that's because of method. They choose a violent, quick way to go out, but also they won't seek help. Like you don't get a lot of like for clientele, you get some men, but reality is most clientele in mental health are either they're forced to go by the state. So it would be either people that are unable to care for themselves, that might be male. You might have you might have some kind of offender, that could be a male. You could have a child, their children come in, they're males. But you don't have a lot of voluntary males come in for help. Not very often, no. Typically, the overwhelming majority of people that are coming in for help are female or children. And that's a problem. That's a huge problem. And it shows you again that men are just not conditioned to ask for help. They'll self-destruct before they do, and they'll keep their problems behind closed doors. I think that's a horrible reality. Anyway, I'm going to talk about comic books, so I don't talk about this anymore for a minute. I hate talking about the state of it because it feels so hopeless sometimes. And it's not hopeless. Excuse me for clearing my throat. But it's not a hopeless situation. It can change, but it's going to take a lot to change it. Can we see a change through like this whole JD situation? Possibly. We possibly can, but it's going to take a lot to change it all. And it's going to take a lot of advocacy. It's going to take a lot of push. But hopefully, like I said, if we see a big win on that, one of the things that'll have to happen is you'll have to have a big win. And the big win, what happens with a big win like that is it maybe cuts down on some false accusations. Here's the problem, though. People that have nothing to lose, unless you're willing to jail them, it won't matter. It absolutely won't matter. Like, you have to be willing to take that. And that's a delicate road. Like, you have to figure out how to make a balance between, like, unfortunately, with a lot of those claims, too, you're talking about situations where proof is going to be harder to come by for some things because people aren't just documenting it all the time. So how do you prove that something's fake? Well, there's a lot of questions in there. There are a lot of them. But until we are just willing to even accept the idea that people fake these things, we see cases that pop up all the time where there are fake claims, and we still, as a society, want to pretend that doesn't exist because it doesn't fit the narrative. And until we get to the point where we'll at least acknowledge that, we can't even have a real discussion about how to stop it. I do think, though, when the high-profile ones, yeah, you have somebody that, like, again, Amber Heard is a very cautionary tale already because she's already torched so many career opportunities. I mean, she set her career on fire to bring in JD. And what does that get you at the end of the day? Yeah, she paid him back for walking away, but at what cost? If she would have just walked away, they could have agreed. She could have walked away after doing all the stuff that she did. She could have walked away. He would have never brought it up, I bet you, because it's not in his benefit to bring it up. So he would have never brought all that stuff up. He would have never made a statement about it. All right. But anyway, so let's talk about a comic book for a second, because I want to change for a second off of that. Let me see what time it is. 8 o'clock. I'll probably talk for a few more, maybe 10, 15 more minutes, and then we'll be done. I'll mention this, and then we'll see if there's anything we're going to close on. All right. Comic book, again, sponsor. Why do I call it a sponsor? Because it's my sponsor. Because I don't want to take sponsors. Like you see the dangerous road. I hope people do understand the dangerous road with sponsorship that can come. And if I were just talking about Hollywood or something, I don't know if I would care as much. But I cover a lot of cases like this. I've been covering them since 2019. Heavily. I mean, I covered some before that, but I hope people see that. I hope people understand it. Now we have to wait for the next meme. Over 9,000. Coffee. I need some coffee, Lord. We're in the same time zone? Yeah, that's right. Well, if you're in Central Time, yes, Ghost Bunny, we are in the same time zone. Yes, it is 8:18 here, so I'm in Central. Yep, I'm in the Central Time zone. I'm out of Tennessee, so, But anyway, comic book. Third comic book we've done. We've done 2 already. We've delivered them successfully, so you will get a product. We run again, when you look at some people seem confused by the 10K. That's just an arbitrary number I picked. Some people set it at $5 or $500. I don't feel good with that. But if I set it at like 30 or 40, then you want to show people that there's movement that comes up already. So we've already done remarkably well. And again, more money, that just means more backing equals more, which equals more freebies we add too. So you've already backed, that's great. But again, part of this, good product, first of all, that should matter. We make all ages for everyone. I want everyone to be involved. I would like everyone to be able to pick up something, but all ages for everyone. Detective noir adventure with detective little sidekick going out and solving paranormal type cases. Now, with this, you have great artwork. Bam! Look at that. We're like, oh man, there's the umbrella guy. Well, the reason for that is the littlest umbrella. That would be the avatar from my then 5-year-old. She's 8 now, so of course she can be part of this. She can have her own covers, and it makes it a family involved item that we do, which I think is very important too. You can see the hook for this as well. I think this is a good hook. Riding along, playing games. Oh no, moose! Watch out! They're like, oh, he climbs out. Oh man, Elizabeth. Notice the boots close up and then zoom out. Where'd you go? Where did she go? Indeed. What happened? And again, crazy stuff. We have sold out of the monster tier, so for drawn ins, but you can be part of the book as well. If you want to be drawn into the book, we have the captive audience tier. That will be all of these plus $50 to get drawn into the book, so you can be a character in the book. The captive audience, when you get into the layer of the evil person, they have portraits that are in there of something. I'm trying to be vague about this, but you can be part of that, which I think is fun and cool. But again, we have all of our books layered. If you want this one book with covers, we have when I say all of our books, that'd be 1, 2. Again, we have 3. So with the big bundle, it's like book 1, book 2, book 3 with both covers, a sketch card that I'll add, and that'll be a sketch card for me. I'm not the artist. That's SK Bennett, so the sketch card you're not getting charged for. Let's just say it's just added in there because I think it's cool to add on. Gives you something. And a mini comic. The last mini comic we did was Night of the Bug or Night of the Baby Umbrella Girl. It was fun. It's attached in add-ons, so if you decide to add that on, you can do that. But if you're not interested in a product either, if you want to just do good with your stuff, you can donate a comic. You donate one, that one will go to charity. We'll match it. We'll donate it. We'll take it ourselves. We'll take it over to like a children's hospital or something. There's no shipping or anything because, we do that ourselves. But right now, like I said, we have 73 of those showing. We had 100 picked up and we matched that. So it's 100, plus 100, 73 plus 73. So, we're talking about quite a few going to charity so far, and I'd love to see more. I want to have so many that I freaking, I'm like, all of the folks that sponsored that, you could go out, you could do your thing, and you can get a shout out for it. Discussion. I wonder what kind of. Now, some people have asked things like, hey, can I get the lug cover with my set of 3? Yes, if you ask for it, you can put a note on your order, or I'll try to keep an eye on it, but it's easy to go through that, People, like I said, everybody, the backers that have thrown in, you folks have done a lot there. And we are close to 80K, which is insane. We've gotten over 1,000 backers so far. I think, what we aim for, we aim as far as high as we can go. And again, this is the only way that we go out and we challenge industry. These people, they own these industries. At the end of the day, they own industry. They have insulted and degraded us, man. It's just, they're customers. Like I say, can you imagine that with anything else? Can you imagine going to the grocery store and being insulted or degraded as a customer? Nope, but entertainment, they feel that is totally a fair response in entertainment. Warner Brothers especially, man, they've gotten nasty about it. And comic books very well tie into what we discuss here because, Aquaman. Aquaman came from comic books. Comic books right now are absolute trash from these companies. They are trash. I can't even... You'll get one or two that might be good every now and then. But you know what? Like, I grew up in comic books. I love comic books. That's one of the reasons I want to make comic books. I enjoy that. The one thing about comic books that I always liked is the fact that you have escapism that is attached to it. You can enjoy that. You can get out of any negative thing there. But also, if you have physical copies of something, you can attach a moment to it. So the good things that happened around it, when that happened, again, there's so much in there that you can attach. And I don't know, I think there's meaning in that. It's kind of fulfilling. They take that away, though. Again, they've reminded us of the negative to it. They take away the escapism by adding themselves in as an ugly insert telling you how important they are. And it's just, that's the same problem with movies. Again, when I look at Aquaman, I don't think about Aquaman anymore. The first thing that comes to mind when I think about Aquaman right now is the fact that there's an internal war going on with this movie. And that internal war that's going on, again, you got to wonder what's happening there. Their employees have declared war on people talking about a court case that would be heard, and other people too. They've declared war. They call you the worst things in the world. Like these people, I don't make contact with them. I don't encourage anyone to contact them. I don't want you ever. You can take a screenshot of something they say and talk about it, but there's no point in interacting with them. But even without interaction, they pretend that you are some kind of monster. Now, they would never do that to a mainstream media source. Some sources of mainstream media, they would cover, like a court TV, they cover a case 1,000,000 times over. But a court TV apparently is bought and paid for, so it's okay. But after they've called tens of thousands of people and just one little swoop bots, they supported the calling of millions of people bots, dehumanizing them basically. After they've done that, I don't see the redemption. I don't see how there's any reason at all to ever put your money back into these companies. I saw somebody talking the other day too, and again, no dislike or you know nothing negative toward anyone that feels this way. Your money is ultimately yours. You decide where your money goes. I can never tell you where to put your money, but I noticed somebody saying, I thought about not seeing Fantastic Beasts until I saw Mads Mikkelsen, at their premiere, and I thought about it's not Mads' fault. No, it's the company's fault that's behind it. I mean, if you want to get down into the minutia, you can always find a reason to excuse things. But if a doctor were to call you a bigot or a monster, if you went into a doctor's office and they treated you the exact same way, they dehumanized you in there, you wouldn't go back and spend your money. All right. Would you say, well, they've employed a receptionist, but hey, or, well, they pay for cable TV. And what about the poor cable guy? You could go down as far down the rabbit hole as you want, but the reality is you wouldn't pay for a commodity if somebody did that to you. And because you talked about this case, again, somebody stalked your real life, stalked tens of thousands of you. You don't know who they are, by the way. If you talked about this case at all online, you were tracked. And again, 200 people, they wanted to dox right from go. They were going to put your life out there in court documentation. They would have leaked the results. They would have. They would have destroyed people for talking about one of their employees. So I'm not willing to put my money into that. I'm willing to take my money away from it and never give it back. Because the reality is, you'd be surprised how much money that you waste on things like that. Again, you shouldn't give up on on the hobbies that we pursue. Because they're ours. They're not these people. They're ours. We built this stuff. But you'd be surprised. Like when I used to go out and maintain, comic book collections, and I would pick up new comics all the time. Like, the amount of money in that, it was insane. And I noticed, over a year of not really buying very many new comics and supporting independent projects. We've supported hundreds of independent projects. The account, my main account, like if you look at it and the projects that it supports, you can't see them all because I hide them. But because people get mad, like if they don't see their project on it, they get mad about it. But the reality is that account alone has supported 111 projects. It supported more, but some of them, they don't get funding. But that's how we change things. Like I said, there are always independents. There's some good ones out there too. Some really good ones. I hope ours is considered in that as well. But even with supporting that stuff, it's amazing how much money you save. Like if you're going to go see, Aquaman, for example, you were a fan of that. You just saved yourself enough to go back an independent project. Probably more, because when you figure it up, I mean, think about this. You take, say you go to the theater. If I go with two of us, man, I spend $20 to get in the door or more. Concessions and stuff. I spend $50, like freaking just picking that up, and that assumes I didn't take my kids or anything else. I mean, when I take the kids, we're talking like $80 to go to the freaking thing. And I didn't include gas or anything else. That doesn't also include, like, if we go out to eat afterwards. I'd rather go do something else. I'd rather do that. So, and that's just one project. And there are plenty of things that you can see. There are plenty of other things you can do. And there are alternatives. But I love the fact that there is an internal war going on of some type behind the scenes with this. And I really do think that when you look at this stuff, again, we may get denials of it. But those denials, they're meaningless. They have no proper meaning whatsoever. Like the reality is, you can see proof that it's happening. People, when you're unfollowing your co-stars, when you're unfollowing the very movies that you're attached to, before they come out, mind you. It's not after the fact and you're like, okay, promotion's done. Woo, I'm behind that. No, I haven't even had it come out yet. I mean, again, what does that say? It says a lot, especially when you're adding this stuff to the courtroom. All right. Anyway, like I said, check out the comic. Hope you enjoy that. And let's give a little sexy toast. Here's some sexy toast. Gelt said it cost him $50 the other day to go see Sonic 2. I mean, like I said, it's expensive. It is very much so. But anyway, will we live stream tomorrow? Probably. We'll probably. I don't know what the plan is tomorrow. I want to go over Starling Jenkins' testimony. I want to go over the poop on the blanket testimony again. Those are funny. So I want to do those one day, but we'll see what new documents come up too. If we have time, again, we need to catch everything up in 1 week. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, I'm going to let you out of here. See you soon. Thank you.